everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Resurrected Win and Shoot podcast. We come to you today not to discuss one game, but several game reveals following the recent Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. But first things first, I'm David, and with me, as usual, is Alex. My next thing to say is how you doing, Alex, but he is currently across the room, so...
Oh, hello. Sorry, you catch me just playing my Nintendo Switch 2 here. Now, it may look like two Game Boy Advances stacked on top of each other, neither of which are turned on. But I was planning this bit in my head and forgot to actually get them out before we started recording, so I fucked it. Oh, well.
You brought it back, you rescued it.
Yeah, other than that, I'm £429 lighter because we don't live in America, so we're allowed to pre-order the Switch 2 because we've got tariff the whole world. A blood orange IPA, cheers to that.
Cheers.
Which is fucking nice, by the way.
Yeah, I quite like a blood orange IPA. It's like a double combo of things I like, beer and oranges. I like orange flavoured stuff.
And citrus.
That's my jam.
The only orange flavoured thing I find inferior to an alternative is matchmakers. It will never be better than the mint matchmakers for me.
See,
Mum, if you're listening, next Christmas, mint once again, please.
I will eat a mint flavoured thing, but mint flavoured stuff is generally like bottom tier for me. I will take almost anything other than I'm trying to think of anything that I would like mint wise, like what are the munchies that are mint? What are they called? You know what I'm talking about?
God,
munchie's better anyway. And after 8, I'll eat it, but not that bothered about it.
I would admit now that I have to. Well, I don't have to. When I choose to buy coffee from
you don't get mint coffee.
A multinational corporation, I get a peppermint latte from Starbucks because they are the shit.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, kind of feels like I won't have coffee breath at the end of it. I'll have like minty breath.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I'll have coffee breath.
Coffee breath is a real problem at the moment.
Yeah, it's rough. Mm-hmm. And you drink your coffees completely black, so yours must be like
real bad.
Pure,
I would guess.
Pure Kenyan scent.
Sometimes, yeah, I sometimes feel like a bit of a. As I sometimes think this must be how a smoker feels, because sometimes I've just got like a sort of solid aftertaste of coffee in my mouth for like hours after a coffee.
Hoping my wife's not listening to this either. I once had a romantic encounter with a lady, and it was in the nighttime. It was in the time that nighttime activities happen between adults, and I can't remember if it was a break or before everything started, but she basically went to a window and like had a quick smoke and then like jumped on me and kissed me, and it was the fucking grossest thing ever. Horrific.
Yeah.
So yeah. I would never. That wasn't really a relationship. I would never be in a relationship with a smoker.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I wouldn't even podcast to a smoker. So any smokers, turn off and fuck off. Vapes, vapes. I'll allow it for now.
It is. I'd say though. I mean, it's not as unpleasant as getting a cigarette blow back in your face, but like walking down the street and you just get like a mouthful of secondhand blueberry vape smoke is not a pleasant experience.
I definitely feel like even though it's in a way shorter space of time, I've encountered far more obnoxious vape smoke blowers than I ever did cigarettes ever. They just seem like a much more cunty type of people, because they obviously think that you must. Oh, you're enjoying this, aren't you? Fucking mate. I've got Cinnabon flavour. Yeah. How can you complain about that? Fucking lift some of that in your face.
I don't know why you would want. It's probably a good thing that I don't understand the appeal for that, but I just don't get it.
Yeah.
At least cigarettes, if you don't smoke them at all, if you were to have like a cigarette, you'd get a buzz off it. You'd get like a nicotine high, which would be fun. But I don't know. Do you get that from vaping? No idea.
I thought they had nicotine in them.
Yeah, I assume they do. But I don't know if they're. Yeah, I don't. What I'm showing here is that I know nothing about vaping, so I should shut my mouth.
I've known people who have weren't smokers the entire time I knew them. May have been in a previous life, but one of them came up to me recently and was like, "I've taken up vaping." It's like, what for? Why? You weren't smoking and had to. You've just decided.
I know what my life needs. Some vape pens.
Yeah. says every high street in the UK. I went back to St. Neots, where I grew up, the other week for my birthday, and there's like 8 vape shops in that piece of shit town.
Is this
I couldn't believe it.
A pilgrimage? Every time you have a birthday, you've got to take a trip back to see where it all began.
Well, it's because my sister's birthday is on the same day as mine, so I typically have to go over there and visit her as well.
She's still a neat, is she?
Yeah,
big
she certainly is.
You can just
still a saint.
You can walk.
She'll always be a saint.
You can just walk around St. Neots thinking, "Oh, I caught a Pidgeotto there. That's where I climbed the wall to try and."
That was Huntingdon.
Oh
well, unless I did that with you, I climbed into the water tower area, past the security guard in Huntingdon.
You and I spent a whole day walking around St. Neots, I think,
walking up to the middle of the bridge over the River Ouse to take back the Pokemon gym in case after any kids had done it, then back to the bench in the market square to catch some more Pokemon. And then, oh shit, someone's taking the gym again. I swear we must have passed them half the time. Like, all right, lads, I know what you've done. I'm taking it back.
I think I've said this story before on a podcast that we've done, but it used to be when I lived in Gourdon, there was what do you call it, like a gym? Is that what they were called? The War Memorial was a gym in my old village. So I would drive home from work and park beside the War Memorial, take the gym and then drive on my way again. Some kid must just be getting off the school bus, taking it, and then I'd just come along.
I hope the only Pokemon you could catch there would be like a Haunter or something.
Oh, it was something awful. Yeah, it was something. Oh,
okay, just a ghost Pokemon.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah, thanks for your service though, lads. I swear there was one that was a church somewhere in this country as well, and they got really upset. People just busting in their church. Like, no, you don't understand. There's a Psyduck in the altar. In one of the pews. What's the thing that you stick a baby in when you're trying not to murder it when it's just been born?
Oh, you're dunking it in the holy water.
What's that called? Yeah, what is that called? A pulpit?
Don't know. My brain went pensive.
There's a Goldine in the pulpit. There we go. If that's accurate, that'll be hilarious. Oh, Nintendo. Woo.
That was a great short, sharp sort of love affair with Pokemon. What was it called? Pokemon Go? Yeah. That was great. I loved that for a while. And then I sort of realized there wasn't much of a game to it, really. But
certainly, well, yeah, this didn't. That never rang with Nintendo, who decided to make a game that was that. Because they basically redid Pokemon Yellow, but just made it Pokemon Go, effectively.
Oh, did they? Oh, no.
Yeah, so you didn't have to fight Pokemon to catch them anymore. You just did it the Pokemon Go way, just flicked a Pokeball at them.
You know the worst bit about that game was that you had to have the app open. So it was just like an absolute battery murderer because you couldn't just sort of collect the steps as you were moving around, which I wish you could. That was annoying.
Yeah. Speaking of stuff like that, the worst thing about the Nintendo Switch 2, not the prices, it's the fact that it has not brought Street Pass back. That's the worst thing about it. Oh, God. They had a chance right there.
Yeah. They're even giving us a little window into the old double screens by allowing you to use your mobile phone as a sort of second screen to an extent. But no, the Street Pass is going to remain gone for a while. That is so sad. That was another Nintendo highlight of our sort of earlier Winners U days when we went to Eurogamer and we were taking our DS around just like scooping up all the Street Pass. And the problem with that though was you could only have a maximum of 12, so you had to be like constantly on it the whole day because everybody at that Eurogamer event had the same idea. So you were just racking up hundreds and hundreds of Street Passes a day.
We ignored a large part of what Hideo Kojima was saying in front of our eyes because we had some Street Pass puzzle pieces to put in.
Priorities, mate. Priorities.
Quiet, you! Shut up.
I wish I could go back and watch that again because of my newfound appreciation for Hideo Kojima that I've discovered because of this podcast.
That was Ground Zeroes, wasn't it? That was like the sort of pre Metal Gear 5 talk.
I need to play that again. Metal Gear 5.
Yeah.
Starting with Ground Zeroes.
Yeah. I think we might get there, together.
Yeah, I'm kind of holding off in the hope that we do. Because I need a friend to chaperone me through that. Because as much as
I need that.
Yeah, as much as I love and enjoy Hideo Kojima now, his games are a lot to take in. I was saying to you before, I've been sort of semi-playing Death Stranding, and oh my god, that game
Also, you have,
it's
yeah.
absolutely mad as a box of frogs. That is just an absolute mental game.
Does that still have
staying at it, confused a lot of the time?
Does that still have like, a sort of a wide or a present online community there where they're still leaving ladders for you and shit, or is it just barren now?
I mean, they're there, but I don't know how new they are. So I encountered a ladder, and you can sort of see who left the ladder. And so the one and only time I had a look, and the person hadn't played Death Stranding in over a year. So I'm thinking,
okay, well, at least they've taken them out.
And especially on Xbox, it's probably the game's probably got quite a low player.
Oh, it's on Xbox you're doing it, yeah, maybe.
I also wondered if maybe we'd get a flurry of people because the Death Stranding 2 is coming out in June. So I thought maybe people would be returning to it, but not on Xbox, I don't think.
It's probably just Major Nelson, in it? All the ladders.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
that guy. Is he alive? I don't know.
He left Xbox, didn't he?
I thought he had, yeah.
I think he started his own podcast. But I don't know how.
So he's now our competition. All right,
probably.
I don't wish him well then.
We are.
Of course he does. Yeah, but he doesn't know shit about the Nintendo Switch 2, and I know everything. So fuck him.
Yes,
and his ladders.
Yes, you do. Alex, we are going to discuss Nintendo Switch 2 today.
Yeah,
or at least the Nintendo Switch 2 event. I guess they are one and the same.
Well, yes, but I have also
one. We will discuss the other.
Yeah, I've also hoovered up as much post direct information as I can.
Okay, good.
So I like to think of us as having been the most sensible podcasters out there who didn't do a hot take, and we've now had time to sit on this and just soak in all the extra bits that have sort of trickled out afterwards, so that we now are the most informed listen for about the Switch 2 that you will ever get.
Hopefully,
nice. You will get right now today in this very moment. Yeah. Of all the people podcasting at this very second, we winning.
Are the most knowledgeable. I'll take that. I'll take that, because sometimes I think we do podcasts and we are the only person podcasting about some obscure game from the 90s, and we probably aren't the most knowledgeable. We're just a couple of bunch of fumbling idiots.
Yeah, but as a friend of mine once said about watching random wrestling from the 90s for absolutely no reason, statistically far more people are doing heroin than talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 on a podcast right now, so we are winning either way.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
There's probably about 8 of them if you just look out your window.
Yeah, probably. Instead of having some horrible drug addiction, we've just got an inescapable addiction to video games.
I have 2 Game Boy Advances. Oh dear.
What do you think is more likely to get you nailed? Laid? 2 Game Boy Advances or some heroin?
Well, I feel like heroin's probably more of a bargaining chip for some people who would offer being laid for it.
And I was like, it's not really funny. But I've started, so we'll finish. It's
quite sad, isn't it? Yeah. Oh dear.
Anyway, climbing out our heroin. Our self-inflicted.
Said nobody in Glasgow. Yeah. All right, let's talk about it. So actually, before they did a Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, they did a Nintendo Switch 1 Direct, which was a bunch of boring JRPG shit, and it will not be spoken of any more than that.
Yeah, it was.
That was good. What a waste of everybody's time. Right, Switch 2 Direct then. So, the name of the console. This broke my heart to hear this, but Switch 2 producer Koichi Kawamoto said there were a lot of ideas for the name, and we really struggled to find the right one, which is mad when you think they just put a 2 on in the end. Like, what was the real struggle there?
Sort of took just taken the logo and sort of shifted it to the side and jammed a 2 next to it.
They really have, yeah. Well, he said, we even considered ideas like Super Nintendo Switch, which is what I wanted all along. But he said, however, Super NES, which came out after the NES, couldn't play NES games. Since Switch 2 can play Switch games, it didn't feel right to use the same naming convention as Super NES.
Right.
I mean, it's technically accurate. There is some logic to that.
That's accurate, but I don't think that was your biggest concern. I think honestly, your biggest concern was not reliving the old Wii U days where people were.
That's why they're scared of it.
Of add-on, yeah. You need to make a clear delineation that this is a new console so that people understand. That's your problem, not the fact that people might think you don't have back compatible games.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That, and you just build the entire console around like this bespoke peripheral that anybody who wants to make games for your console has to use, which is why your console got shit on and the Xbox One did better, despite the fact that they called the third one number one. So that was a bad generation for naming, for sure.
Oh, Microsoft have gone mental though, haven't they? So we've got the Xbox 360, because that came out at the same time as the PlayStation 3 and they didn't want to have the Xbox 2. So they thought, how do we get a 3 into this?
Really? Okay. Yeah. I never actually realised that.
Then they had the Xbox One.
ONE, yeah.
Which was the third one, but it was meant to be one device because that was when they were trying to turn it into a set-top box, right?
Yeah, and PlayStation had also done PSONE as well back in the day, which was like the third revision of that console, wasn't it? Or at least the second one.
Yeah.
Then
the mid-generation jump was the Xbox One X. And now we have Xbox One Series X. Or no, it's just Xbox Series X now, isn't it?
Yeah, or S, or in your case, both, as you have both.
Yeah, I wonder what they'll do next.
If they
Xbox
just keep,
X, I've just realised how silly that is.
Series X.
Xbox
what does that
X.
mean?
What
does that mean?
Because it's an Xbox, you can't have a Series Y next.
No, especially so it's a series. They called it series, I guess, because there's two consoles from the same generation. Yes. So that's the Xbox series. This is this series of, but Series X, why S and X? What does that mean? Series S.
Was a slim?
What does the S stand for?
Slim, small,
maybe. Slim? Yeah,
don't know.
But yeah, if they keep getting like new people to take on the mantle of like next console generation, they must be tearing their hair out. Like, well, what have you done to me? Where have you left me with this naming? What am I supposed to do?
Yeah,
because it does feel odd having the Switch 2, having a new Nintendo console have a number 2 in it when it's so far from their second console ever. For them to finally actually put numbers on the end that aren't just the number of bits in the fucking machine like the N64.
It's not. I mean, often they stick a 2 on things, is it? I try to think of.
No, usually they stuck a fucking new in front of it.
Yeah,
like the new Nintendo 3DS XL, which I have, which is so stupid.
I love that they've got the 2DS is my favorite one.
It just looks like a wedge of cheese. Just a big Edam console.
Oh, it's so good, so good. Got a lot.
It is. Right, so let's talk. Right, the tech specs.
Where are we taking this first, Alex?
So we've got a tech specs sheet, right? So, I mean, I could read out all of it, but I can't be bothered. From what we saw from the video, it looks as if it's basically it's got a bigger screen than the original Switch, but it's also the same thickness. Mm. Oh. It's an LCD screen.
Yeah.
Which some people are disappointed about. Because they've just done a Switch OLED in the last 3 or 4 years. The reason they didn't do an OLED this time, ladies and gentlemen, is so they can sell you a Switch 2 OLED in 3 years' time.
Yeah.
It's got a custom processor made by NVIDIA in it. And NVIDIA have come out and said that this custom processor is capable of ray tracing and DLSS, which is deep learning super sampling, which is like it boosts resolution for sharper details without sacrificing image quality. It's got these tensor cores that allow like AI-powered face tracking, background removal for video chat usage, as we saw in those 4 frames a second videos during the Mario Kart stuff, which was embarrassing. The ray tracing cores have got real-time ray tracing apparently in them. I don't know if a lot of things are going to use them, but they've said that the processor is going to allow for 10 times the graphical performance of the original Switch. And that will equate to also being 60 frames a second, 120 hertz while undocked, and 4K 60 frames or 1440p 120 frames docked with variable refresh rate as well enabled. So that will also allow apparently for things like games that target 30 FPS potentially will be able to use higher, smoother frame rates like 40 Some games are
Right, okay.
you can do stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that was one of the things with like when Dragon's Dogma 2 came out and it had no option to do like a performance mode and it was kind of like locked at a fucking terrible attempt at 30. If you had like a 120 hertz screen that had VRR, you could kind of push that to like a 40 or 50 frames to kind of, force it to smooth itself out. I mean, that's probably what we should expect as a bare minimum. You have a Steam Deck, correct?
Yes.
Is that 120 hertz in handheld mode? Can that do that?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Tell you. Yeah. let's have a Google of that so I don't sound like an idiot. Steam.
While you have a look for that, there is the battery life of this, right? It's got, I don't know what these abbreviations mean, but it's got a 5,220 mAh battery compared to the 4,310 mAh one that was in the original Switch. But that apparently translates to around 19.3 WH, I don't know what that means, watts per hour, maybe? Against the equivalent 40 in the original Steam Deck and 50 in the OLED Steam Deck. So they're basically saying, this was Rich Ledbetter from Digital Foundry. He was saying basically
the Steam Deck does do 4K 120.
Okay, cool. So because the battery life is like 2 to 6.5 hours, he was saying that because of that, they're suggesting that all functions of the Switch 2 in handheld consume 10 watts of power, and just the APU, I don't know what that is, in a Steam Deck consumes 15 watts. And if you fully unlock your Steam Deck and all the system components, apparently it can consume 28 watts, which is like 3 times as much power as the Switch 2 can with its battery in there. And he's basically saying, like, in handheld form, power translates to performance. So you have to have really efficient, like, silicon inside there, raw compute power, and the game developers themselves are going to have to do some clever shit to get a decent experience from these games in portable mode. So I think he basically said, like, overall, like, if you're putting this docked, he thinks it's more powerful than a Steam Deck.
Okay.
But handheld, the battery life he thinks potentially is going to cause it some struggles to be as good as that, which is probably disappointing for 395 quid. I would suggest. So it's a different market.
It's a different market. Like, there's going to be a lot more children using this, so your sort of form factor and your build quality and sort of by translation of that, the sort of innards would have to be different. It's cheaper than a Steam Deck, which is nice. Yeah, I just think it's probably going for a different market. I'm not sure how much of a crossover there's going to be here in terms of user.
Yeah,
I think there probably is going to be a crossover, to be honest, because in my head, I guess I would love to see the breakdown, but I suppose people that are using the Switch as their main console might skew younger. I'm not sure. Maybe that's...
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
And then you've just got older people who want the first party stuff and can't not have it in their lives.
First party stuff,
going to have to get it.
The odd thing that they want to take with them on the go.
If they don't have a Steam Deck already,
yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It seems it's in my head. It's sort of a PS4 level quality.
I think it's a PS4 Pro if we're going.
If we're trying to
that seems to be what people were suggesting from the original
console
specs.
I mean, for a handheld console, that's absolutely fine. And for Nintendo haven't been about raw power for a long time, have they? They don't need massively powerful machines to do the games and the game types that they do. What I would like is it to run a bit faster, so the eShop should run quicker, and apparently it does.
Apparently that will be improved. Yeah.
And you just wanted them to sort of give it a bump to catch up with sort of more modern hardware, and because I was listening to this in the VGC podcast, which I thought was a really good point, so I'm stealing it. But because everything this generation's so weird, most games now come out on PS4 still. So it sort of brings it up to the level that it should be able to run just about any modern game. You would think it might not look as crisp as the Xbox Series X and the PS5, but it should run it. And it should be perfectly playable, which is great, because we haven't been able to say that about Switch for a long time. So if you want to play the new games, you should be able to do that, which means we should see a lot more ports and things coming our way through this console, which haven't always been the case.
Yeah, more on those later on. But
Madden's coming out on it for a start. When was the last time a Madden game came out?
Oh, or any real EA game that wasn't just legacy FIFA, which was basically the same game like 5 years running. Mm-hmm. One interesting point that somebody made, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been the Backpage guys, but they pointed out like Nintendo basically don't, or historically have not, followed up a massive smash hit console with another smash hit console. They just don't manage it. The NES was crazy. Like it reinvigorated the gaming industry. It basically built that back up again in North America. Absolutely huge. It was like the noun for video games. It was a Nintendo. And then the SNES, while a great console with an incredible library, probably did almost half the numbers sales-wise.
In my head, the SNES was always a big success.
Yeah, well, I think probably still compared to the Mega Drive worldwide, it probably was. Hold on. Let's get them. Because one thing I also found crazy the other day is like... I think everybody kind of assumes that the Switch is like right up there. Not the Switch, sorry. The Wii is right up there with the biggest selling consoles of all time, but it's actually the 7th highest. I thought it was.
Yeah, I thought it was bigger than that as well.
Yeah, I know it broke 100, but I thought it was way up. It's below the PS1.
Oh, okay.
And the PS4, and still below the Game Boy. Switch is actually third, and it's still below the DS, which is fucking nuts.
It's mad to think. It's the 3DS that had a rocky launch, wasn't it?
Yes.
Was it the Please Understand or something?
Yeah. But even that has sold more than the original NES, to be fair to it. Mm-hmm. And I suppose, well, I mean, you could even count that. Like the 3DS sold almost bang on half of what the original DS sold. The NES was like 60, apparently, according to VG charts, like 62 million worldwide. The SNES was like 50. So that's not a massive drop off.
It is a drop off, though. You would be expecting. I would have been expecting the sort of audience to be growing during that period, not shrinking.
Well, exactly. And then the N64 dropped even further down to like 32. GameCube dropped even further to 21.7. And then you've got the Wii, as we said, 101.6 million, and then the Wii U, 13.5, which was an absolute, like, they just dropped a bollock. So they don't typically just keep on growing. They just have that. Like, they're in a cycle. They go down and back up and down and back up.
The industry.
You think so?
Yeah, I just think the industry's different from what it was back in those days. Like, it's part of the reason that I'm finding it hard to get overly excited about new consoles when they come along. Is because they are by design iterative, right? So like, and the support for the Switch 1 is going to continue, because like kids will want to play Fortnite and still can play Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft on that console. So I think for a long time the Switch is going to still be part of the vernacular. It's not the right word. It's just basically, but it's going to be in the room still with Nintendo. And I think, I just think consoles are increasingly sort of turning into the mobile phone market, where they're just sort of slowly upgrading themselves over time.
It's funny you said that, though, because Nintendo has actually produced 2 PDFs of Switch games. That they've got one of Switch games that will start up on Switch 2, but will include some in-game compatibility issues. Nothing really so I think, in the main, most Switch 1 games are going to work. I'm sure all the hentai will run absolutely fine for you, lads. Some of the names there that are potentially worth thinking about: the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection apparently is going to have some issues. One of the Overcooked games does. Fall Guys. Yeah, I have no idea. Alien Isolation, Alan Wake Remastered. There are games apparently as well, the second PDF, there is a list of games that will not even start up on Switch 2, and Fortnite is one of them. They must be tearing their pubes out at that.
Yeah, why have they done that?
Like, that's you've shit the bed there somehow.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that sort of changes the... you've got to think that's going to fix itself at some point.
Oh, sure. Yeah. They will be mad not to have that. But it does, as you say, it does look like it probably is set to change. Certainly from what I could tell from the UK pre-order scene, where basically anytime anything went up for pre-order from, I think Very was one of the early ones, Smith's Toys, gone in, minutes. Mm-hmm. Like I would see notifications from like an hour ago, and they were all gone. Mm-hmm. I got mine from Amazon in the end. I had to sign up for an email alert. And to be fair, I did get email alerts from them and Curry's and the Games Collection, so I could have got one from any of those places, but I jumped on Amazon. But so while it looks as if this is selling out pretty quickly in the UK, it definitely felt like that Switch 2 Direct was very nervous. Did you find that? I mean, I know they brought in these 3 charisma vacuums to present it. They were like the new young Switch, development team. So I can see why they did it. It probably didn't feel that way at the time. I kind of looked at the guys and thought, Jesus Christ, can somebody get these guys a fucking upward inflection or something to make it more interesting? But it was mad to see this without any of the the Koizumis, the Aonumas, the Miyamotos, he's gone now, but Reggie, there was no one there. This is they brought out all the younger generation.
They need to start doing that, right? I mean, how old is Miyamoto now? He must be in his 70s.
He's pushing it if he's not there already.
It would not be a surprise if this is his sort of, he doesn't see the next Nintendo console, which is a bit crazy to think.
Yeah. Well, they live quite long over there, you know. Yeah, maybe he's okay.
They need to start sort of creating the next generation of stars and the sort of recognizable people. The thing I struggle with constantly with these Nintendo Directs, and this one included, is that for a company that oozes personality like Nintendo, and their games are built on such what's the word? There's no one else like Nintendo. They're so unique.
Yeah, whimsy.
That's a good word. The personality in their Direct is so stale and so.
It is very sterile, isn't it?
Sterile and corporate feeling in a way that their games just don't feel like. And I'm very confused by the style that they go with the Nintendo Direct.
I completely agree. I find the voiceover guy absolutely insufferable as well, and he's probably the most personality-driven one of the lot. But it just sounds so fake.
Yeah, it does.
They didn't talk about the prices of it. Like even the console itself, they didn't talk about in the Direct. They didn't talk about enough of the hardware specs. They showed off that it can do these resolutions and these frame rates, and it's got a nice sort of bendy stand on the back, which is kind of cool. Oh, it's got 2 USB ports, hooray! But they didn't say how much RAM it's got. They didn't say what the GPU is. They didn't even say what the processor was, the CPU, until Nvidia came out and said it's this, we've made it for them. So it kind of felt like they were really not only nervous about what the perception of this is going to be and unsure how far to go into specs talk, because as you said, they've dropped that from the Wii and the DS onwards. They thought, fuck this, we're not going for that kind of people anymore. This one they kind of are, because it's basically like the Xboxes and PlayStations now. It's like it's got more heft to it, it's got more graphical power, it can push these frame rates. Like they almost seemed embarrassed to have to talk about that kind of stuff, because really what they want to show you is Donkey Kong breaking stuff. But they kind of have to give you some of that shit. It just felt like they were just kind of reticent to, and then they're talking about stuff like this game chat, which was, as I said earlier, was to me an embarrassment.
Yeah, it looks so bad.
You got this fucking potato camera that they're trying to sell for like 60 quid. And they're talking about this kind of stuff as if it's like new when it's like 15 years old.
To me, yeah.
Because they're still trying to act as if their target audience is like people new to gaming, and maybe it is their target audience, but the way they're kind of being like, you can talk to your friends while you play, it just felt kind of condescending in a weird way. but we're all here listening to the frame rates bit before that, and now you're talking about game chat as if it's new. It's like, it's a weird dichotomy of their message.
That is quite a confused message, isn't it? And on one hand, you're sort of trying to cater for people like us that are interested in spec and chat like that, and then on the other hand, you're totally right. I never considered that you're sort of that's a very confused message. They're
being dragged kicking and screaming into having to talk about this stuff. They just don't want to. It was so obvious that they just don't want to.
But then I'm trying to think. So the more we discuss this, the more I am sort of trying to run through how Nintendo are wanting to present themselves with this. I guess when the Switch 1 came along, it was a cheap device that allowed you to play games on the move, good quality games on the move, and it ran the sort of, like you say, Roblox's, Minecraft's, and Fortnite's. This new console, I'm trying to think what the big sort of USP to the sort of mainstream audience is, which obviously Nintendo will want to hit. Pokemon, when that comes along, that's probably going to be a bit of a driver of sales. But I'm trying to think why some 5-year-old kid that just plays one of those 3 games that I'm going to be mentioning a lot tonight, why would they want a Switch 2? I don't see it. I don't see it now that I'm actually running through it in my head. But then maybe games will come along that will take over from those games at some point. Surely something will happen at some point, and then the Switch 2 will become the place to play that. I'm not sure.
I've also heard it posited as well. And I'm sure you'll probably agree. This one doesn't really have a hook to it that we haven't already seen, which has been, a staple of what Nintendo's everything recently has been.
The mouse, does the mouse feel like a hook?
They definitely tried to sort of play into that quite early on, didn't they?
Yeah.
That was one of the key things they started to talk about, was that and the button for the game chat.
Yes. I
Um,
don't know if you want to get onto it now or wait if it's where it is on your list, but I am sort of open to being convinced by the mouse. I am struggling to see why I would want to use a mouse with a console.
It's another weird thing, isn't it? Where that's a very PC thing to try and push on people. And when I watched the one of the tree houses where they talked about the Metroid Prime 4 and they showed it, and that was it looks unbelievably good. I'm so hyped for that game.
Good.
They showed somebody they showed somebody using the mouse with that, and the coolest thing about the mouse is that there's nothing that you need to do to turn the mouse function on. You literally, if you've got the Joy-Con in your hand, put it down, turn it over, it's a mouse. Pick it up, it's a controller again. It's like the seamless way that switches from one thing to another is incredible. I'm never going to play Metroid with a mouse because I can't. It's stuck.
Yeah, I also can't think in my head a scenario in which, sort of assuming that most people will play their Switch not at a desk, they'll be playing it on a couch. So most people will be, when they're using this mouse functionality, will either be sort of using the arm of a couch or their leg even. How that is, I can't imagine how that is going to be a preferential input method over a controller. It just doesn't seem like a comfortable. I guess, to me, the selling point of using mouse and keyboard is that the mouse is extremely accurate. I don't see how you replicate that accuracy by you having it on your leg necessarily.
No, I can't. Yeah,
which makes me want. I then ask what it's for. Mario Paint that's eventually going to come.
Now you're talking. That camera, right? 50 quid. I don't know if I said that or not. That was 50 quid. The Switch 2 Pro control.
It's cheap for a webcam these days.
Yeah, but it's a shit. Did you see it?
Rubbish one. Yeah,
terrible, right?
One. Yeah, I hope Alex, you're going to have to get one, and I want you to get the Piranha Plant one, please.
Oh, that looks awesome. Yeah, to be fair, that does look awesome. That GameCube controller that they introduced, that's £60. That's completely unacceptable.
The new Wave Bird.
60, yeah. They because you can use basically most controllers that were on the Switch 1 on the Switch 2, but apparently the home button will no longer wake up your console, so you have to get up and turn it on like a peasant. Disgraceful.
Boo.
Switch 2 Pro controller is £75.
Yeah, that's a lot. That is
just
a lot.
Just for it to have a button on it that will do that chat and that will actually wake up your console. I'm not paying for that privilege. The original's fine.
Yeah, so that's going to work, is it?
Yeah, or your old Joy-Cons will work, your old Pro Controller will work. It just they won't be able to turn the console on.
Okay,
so
I can live with that because
I
don't enjoy the old, like the clip on, which I assume they're going to have a version of that for this. The clip on that made a controller out of your Joy-Cons. I didn't enjoy.
Yeah, they were. You didn't?
No. So I'm glad to have an actual. I can use my Switch Pro controller or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I think
it's still a great controller.
I think it's one of the best controllers that's ever been made because it had so much on it. I thought, other than the triggers, which it didn't have, it just had buttons. I actually don't know if I've heard anything about whether this one has full depressible, if you want a better word, or an actual word, triggers, or whether it's just their buttons again. Because I had real problems with. Oh, I can't remember what the game was now. There was a game that I think it might have been like something like Trials or something like that.
That I remember that being a thing.
It's not an accelerator. Yeah. It's just a button.
That being a thing. Yeah.
So it's like impossible to play Trials. I think it was the new Trials. I tried playing it on the Switch and it just does not work. I know it's got the new Pro controller. It's got those weird paddles on the back, like an Xbox Elite controller that's kind of allows you to map stuff to it. Again, they're talking about mappable buttons and stuff. So like they're finally growing up, but they seem kind of embarrassed about it or whatever.
Yeah.
What else have I got? I got a few more things about like the specs and stuff. Or do I? Maybe we've actually covered it. Oh, it's got 256 gig of storage. What's your Steam deck got storage wise on there?
250 gig. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Pretty standard. It's about double what the original Switch had, and you can buy these. They're not allowing. What was it? SD, whatever, mini cards or whatever it was. You have to get these SD Express.
Oh, do you?
Cards to go in. And so basically, if you've got an SD card in your Switch, that will not work on your Switch 2. You'll have to buy one of these new proprietary. But
Mario Kart's like 35 gig, so I mean that's okay. I guess
it's pretty small.
So, it's pretty small. Yeah. Nintendo's always been on the small side when it comes to memory. However, you just got to manage your game library a little bit more tightly, and like you said, their games are generally on the smaller side compared to there's no like Call of Duties for 110 gig needing to be installed.
Jesus Christ. That is true.
I'm not really concerned about that.
No, however, they are introducing these things called game key cards now, where so instead of it being what some Switch physical, in inverted commas, heavy inverted commas, physical Switch games recently have been going down a trend of it's actually just a box with a fucking code inside, which is pathetic. Mm-hmm. The Switch 2 is going to incorporate these game key cards, which will be basically a effectively blank Switch cartridge in a box that you will put in your console. Maybe not blank, it will maybe have some data on there, but the majority of the data for the game will just basically be downloaded. I've also heard that any of the upgraded versions, for example, the two Zelda games that are going to be released on Switch 2, Metroid Prime 4 as well, apparently, they are going to be Switch 1 cartridges in the box, and they will just come with a download code for the upgraded version, which I guess means they are effectively a one-time use thing. So therefore, you're buying a physical game that has absolutely no resale value thereafter. The game key cards, potentially, as the download key seems to be contained within the cartridge itself, they do appear to be sellable for a secondhand market. Okay. But the upgraded versions
which makes a convoluted sharing system make a bit
more sense, that as well. Yeah, exactly.
Do you know the thing that worries me? The worst thing about this is I think of all the sort of big three console manufacturers going about, Nintendo, the one that I trust the least to keep my games accessible. So now more than ever, now more than ever, I feel like the worry with that is you're buying a game that is going to go away one day. I mean, that's probably true of all games of all types, but I feel like it's going to happen within living memory where Nintendo games, and like they've already been closing shops down, haven't they? So that's a worry, because if the game's not on the cart, then it's just gone when they close that shop, right?
Yeah, game preservation has obviously been a really sort of hot button issue in the last few years.
Becomes like there's some sort of effort to make there be a legal compulsion for companies to preserve art or their products in a way that keeps them accessible for people.
Yeah, if I've bought a piece of plastic,
this is not a good sign for me with it
sold as a physical. No, exactly, and the pricing of them is pretty poor as well. You know, the Zelda games, I haven't seen an official Nintendo price, but I have seen them on other sort of third party vendors for like 65 quid. 65 quid for Breath of the Wild on Switch 2, which, may I remind you, is actually a Wii U game. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, that's a
£65.
That's outrageous. At least
apparently,
it's $80, right? Which I guess sort of roughly equivalent must be.
Yeah. So they are also doing these things where you can upgrade current games to Switch 2 versions. So Switch 1 games can be upgraded. Okay. Now, there are some that are going to be upgradable for free to a Switch 2 version. Those games include Captain Toad.
Yes.
Super Mario Odyssey, Super Mario 3D World, and Bowser's Fury.
How they decided what to do with this, because it just seems like, that's exactly how it
close your eyes and throw a dart at a wall.
Yeah, because that's how it feels, because that's like big titles. So it's not like gone, we can make more money with the bigger games. So we charge more for those.
Yeah. That Zelda, both the Zelda kind of top-down ones, so Link's Awakening and that Zelda one that came out at the end of the year, which is one of the newest ones on here. Mario Brothers U Deluxe, Pokemon. This is on the fucking Japanese site, so I don't know what Pokemon that is. I don't know. Sword and Shield, maybe? Not sure. Those games are going to be free anyway to upgrade. Apparently, the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, their versions are apparently showing on the Japanese Switch 2 website costing they're costing 1,000 yen, which is apparently like $10, or in the UK like £8.
Okay.
Those are cheaper because they just kind of have like, you know, frame rate resolution upgrades and stuff.
Thank God.
Apparently,
Tears of the Kingdom is god awful.
Yeah,
on the Switch.
If that's like £8 to £10, I probably will pay that, and then probably finish that fucking game. If you own either of those Zelda games and you have a Switch Online Plus expansion pack subscription, you can play the Switch 2 versions for free. I don't think that works if you're in a family. That's just my surmising, because when they were offering, when Nintendo were talking about how to pre-order the game, they were saying they were going to send out like invites to certain like loyal customers and stuff, and they said that you would get like more of a chance to get offered one of these pre-order invites if you were a Switch Online subscriber, but if you were in a family, only the main account holder would be considered and anyone else in the family would not be involved. So I am going to guess that will not work. So for you and I, who are a member of somebody else's family, I am assuming we will not get these for not free, but no extra cost.
Oh, well.
There are the games that are like Super Mario Party Jamboree and that Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Those upgrades are apparently 2,000 yen, which is like $20, about 15 quid, because they have new content in them, which that's when you should charge, and only when you should charge, in my opinion. The other stuff, like the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom stuff, the fact they're charging for that, for me, is a mistake. It's a mistake that Sony have also made on PS5, but it's not a mistake that Xbox have made.
No, but it's a mistake that I fully expected Nintendo to make. So
they've been reselling us shit for fuck. Yeah, exactly. I remember when the Wii U came out and they basically didn't even have the virtual console on there. And when they did start bringing in virtual console stuff, none of the shit you had on Wii would work on the Wii U without you buying it again. They've got precedence for this.
When it comes to consumer benefits. Is that the right description? Like I've got such a low bar of expectation for Nintendo. I expect them to do the most money grabby thing they can possibly do. That is just my sort of default position when it comes to Nintendo these days, unfortunately.
And I mean, they are backed up by evidence that fucking idiots will keep rebuying it.
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
not. They're in their eyes, they probably aren't making any mistakes.
No,
but it's nice to see some games like Mario. The Mario games at least will get a free upgrade anyway. So there are some. I
wonder why they're doing that, which
to...
makes me wonder whether there's a Mario game coming.
I'm surprised there isn't one announced.
Well, that's kind of why I'm now wondering that, because I was expecting one to be announced, and then they didn't announce it, and then I thought, oh, maybe they'll announce it sort of June time, like later on. But yeah, maybe this free upgrade, it's like we don't have a Mario game coming quite yet. Here's a little bone chucking.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. When's the Mario movie coming out?
The second one?
Yeah.
Oh, good question. I'm not sure. Has it got a release date yet?
I think it does.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was coming in 2026, so they don't have a date. Sorry, they have a year. So maybe I would expect there to be a Mario game in time for that, perhaps.
You'd hope.
Yeah.
It'd be silly not to, because the first one did such crazy numbers. They'd be mad not to try and at least capitalize on this at the second time of asking, because they had nothing for the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's move on to games then.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we'll get through some of the shittier ones first. There's a new Hyrule Warriors game coming out. Cool.
Did you not get into Dynasty Warriors recently?
I did, and I do really love Hyrule Warriors 1. I was not a massive fan of the second one they did, because that was based entirely on Breath of the Wild. This one seemingly is based on Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm not as into that as the all-encompassing Zelda thing that the first game was, where it had like, oh, here's some Ocarina, and here's Majora's Mask, and here's Skyward Sword, and all that. That had like, that was like a Zelda love letter. These ones are now more focused on the actual current Zelda games, which don't appeal to me as much. But surely it's going to run better than the previous Hyrule Warriors one. I can't even remember what it was called, but it ran like dog shit, which is also why I didn't bother to play it. They have a tech demo called Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which is not free or a pack-in.
Yeah.
What the fuck are they doing?
Oh, I don't know.
What is that?
That is weird. I saw they were charging for that, and I was like, why? Why?
I don't know if we have a price for that, but anything is so dumb. Apparently, they actually didn't want to put Wii Sports as a pack-in for the Wii until Reggie, which he wrote in his own book, let's just point out, persuaded them that they had to do that. Tom Kalinski'd it and made them put Sonic 2 in their Mega Drive bundles, so to speak. How much of that you believe is up to you, dear listener, but seems like Nintendo don't really believe in the pack-in anymore, despite the fact they've had probably the greatest pack-ins in the history of gaming, other than Sonic, where they've had Tetris and fucking Mario Bros. Like, this has worked for them in the past. Why did they... No, I don't know.
It's not the same level as this, because it's obviously going for a different vibe, but I guess like maybe they're looking at things like Astrobot and seeing like the massive success that turned into, and thinking, oh, we can't give that away for free. Like, our pack-ins have the chance that they might turn into franchises in their own right. I don't know, maybe.
Which I would understand if this was an actual game, but it's basically not. It's an instruction book.
Yeah.
And Astrobot, as you say, Astro's Playroom was an actual brilliant game that spawned an incredible, like, full-on sequel.
Yeah.
And this is... I don't even know what this is.
To me,
if you pay for this, you are an absolute mug.
To me, this is like their opportunity to show you the type of things that you can do with the sort of gimmicks of the console. Show you the new upgraded 3D Rumble stuff. They can show you things you can do with the mouse, with a little button game and things like that. Like, show people and get them excited about the things that your console can do, so that hopefully it gets utilized and doesn't just get forgotten about. But yeah, charging for it seems an odd decision to me.
Yeah, that's putting it nicely.
And it seems to have all the personality that the trio presenting the game has.
Yeah. You can tell they probably had a hand in the development of that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
My God. For some reason, they've made a wheelchair basketball game, which I'm going to tread lightly around, not insulting people who are in wheelchairs and find themselves. The MAGA crew are absolutely fucking up in arms about this Japanese DEI. But
I'll tell you what, I'm kind of I'll give them a pass on that. I thought it looked quite fun, and it probably won't be, but I just thought, that's an interesting.
It's like Rocket League for paraplegics,
Rocket League for wheelchairs. It's like, okay, let's see how that goes.
It's a double mouse as well.
Yeah, because you're going to be
double mouse. Yeah,
people in their living room up and down the country are just going to be hulking up.
Yeah. The weirdest, or rather the worst thing about that game is just that it looked so fucking bland.
Yeah,
it's just like bad grey. Yeah, exactly. It's like Tron if everybody turned the lights off. Like, what? Why is it not so vibrant and colourful? Like, you don't have to go quite as far as that Foam Stars shit that came out on PlayStation. But, I mean, look at Splatoon as your example here, boys. Yeah. You've gone from, like, that's the most recent kind of new IP you've made with these little, like squids painting shit all over these vibrant things. And now you've just got a bunch of blokes in wheelchairs wearing black boiler suits in a dark arena with a black ball. What was that? I can't see myself ever even trying that. I just don't want to do that. I don't want to do the wheelchair.
I don't want to waggle. I haven't wanted to waggle for about 20 years, so I can't see me wanting to play it. But I thought it was an interesting idea, given the gimmick that with their mouse and the different things that they've got attached to that console. So, that's quite a cool idea. But because for that to be actually fun, there would have to be some sort of skill in throwing your hoop or shooting a hoop, and I don't think there will be. It'll be pressing a button and flinging your arms in there, and it'll sort of auto lock and stuff.
Yeah,
I guess
it did kind of reek of the old Wii Sports stuff, didn't it? Like playing the golf where you could just go and flick your wrist. It would be like, "Here, you've putted." Hey, I scoff, but including some inclusivity for people who play wheelchair sports is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
well done for that. I just don't want to use two mice at once in the most boring looking game I've ever seen. Double mouse.
That is Anyway, Nintendo, carry on. Do your thing.
From Software pretended they were releasing Bloodborne 2 and got my penis erect, and then it turns out it was actually a game called The Duskbloods, which is actually a fucking multiplayer game. So no, not playing it.
Double confusing because it appears to be, at least for the moment, a Switch exclusive. So one
time for sure.
One, they decided to tease you about Bloodborne, which means that no matter what they had, if it wasn't Bloodborne, people are just going to be deflated and disappointed when you're showing your new game, when you're meant to be getting people excited. And two, you've done a multiplayer only game on a console that I think a lot of people are going to be playing on the go, not connected to the internet. So it's an odd place to tie this console to. A bit like the 33 Immortals game that's just come out in early access on Game Pass. They've tied it to the Xbox console that very few people own and the Epic Game Store that very few people use. And it's like, why? If you need an audience, you need to get it to the biggest audience you can, not hide it away in these little obscure places. Which, I'm assuming it has to be a timed exclusive, because if that is an exclusive, it is a nonsensical decision to make that multiplayer game, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I'm certain that I've read somewhere that the official listing of it says coming first to Nintendo Switch 2. So it's a timed exclusive for sure in 2026.
From our doubling down on this multiplayer stuff. That's two games coming along that are sort of multiplayer focused, which is interesting. To the extent that Miyazaki's had to come out and say, we're not just doing multiplayer games now, by the way. We are going to do the normal stuff, but I can see why you're confused. Yeah, but we aren't doing that all the time. But that remains to be seen. Their multiplayer stuff has just got they've earned the right to have a go at whatever they want to have a go at. But even the first again, like what we've discussed with this one, tying multiplayer to weird places, and then the other one, the Elden Ring one they've got coming out, with it being 3-player only, is confusing me as well.
Yeah, it looks like it's in 30 frames as well. Great. So you can play bad Elden Ring on the Switch too if you'd like. You shouldn't, though.
No.
So that's a huge disappointment and just an instant no from me when it's a multiplayer only game sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Kirby Air Riders, absolutely nobody saw that coming. Sakurai is back at the helm. Fair play. He needs to have a break from Smash Bros. Fucking killing him anyway.
He's been trying to escape the Smash Brothers for about 15 years, I feel like.
Yeah, don't think everyone expected him to go back to Kirby Air Riders, but apparently there is some like cult love for that game. So, yay! Bit of a weird reveal when Mario Kart World is like the key IP for the Switch 2's launch, and your first Kirby game is also a racing one. But
Kirby,
fair enough, mate.
Kirby as an IP is something that is sort of largely passed me by. I know very little about any Kirby game. Beyond, I think we've maybe touched one for the podcast, and other than that, I think that's pretty much my.
Oh yeah, we did one on the SNES, didn't we?
Yeah, for our SNES Mega Drive Roulette, one of those episodes, we did a Kirby game, and that's basically my experience of Kirby.
Yeah.
You've played the Switch open world thing? Is that good?
It's not an open world. It's just the one where you deep throat a taxi in it or whatever it was, or a fridge.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Okay, because people like Kirby. I also recently watched Jeff Gerstmann because he's playing through all the SNES. Is it NES games? He's playing all the NES games. He got to a Kirby game and he was absolutely loving it. So people do like
the Kirby game. Yeah, Kirby. I think it's called Kirby's Adventure or Kirby Adventures on the NES is one of the best looking games on that system.
It looked great.
A long way. It looks absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's just so easy. They mostly always are. So easy. But yeah, I mean, I'll give Kirby Air Riders a shot, maybe.
The double racing game.
Strange. They ended the direct with Donkey Kong Bonanza.
I've done a bit of a. I'm hoping you can inject some enthusiasm into me with this game because I've done a little bit of a 180 on this. When they announced it, I was like, oh yeah, I'll try a Donkey Kong game. But the more I look at it, the less I'm interested in this. It just looks. I watched the next day they had the Treehouse, and I watched them playing Donkey Kong. And I was like, this game looks dull. So I'm hoping you can help me out here.
Yeah, no, I was watching that as well but I had it on while I was working, and so I didn't get to give it my full attention. I didn't see any Did you see any enemies in that fucking game?
No, not that I can think
I think you just seemed to be in this really empty
picking stuff up,
mine, lobbing shit.
Yeah,
apparently it's being dubbed online Red Faction Gorilla, but gorilla spelled as in an actual gorilla.
Yes. It's a bit like that actually. I can see that because they were like digging into the side of the walls and things like yeah. I'm okay with.
I've never actually played those games, by the way. Are they good? Have you played any of them? I swear you played.
Yeah, I played Red
the Gorilla one.
Yeah, Gorilla. Maybe like an hour. Not a huge amount. It was.
I would love
to
see
fun.
if PC has made that good now.
Yeah, it would be fun actually because like they could do a cool. Almost like Metal Gear Solid style Red Faction game. You know, like Metal Gear Solid 5 where you go into a map and you've got a mission to complete and you can complete it however you want. That would be really fun because like I was doing things like I remember even fun. It's like, oh, you've got to take out this space and then just getting in a car and just like driving it into a wall to like get through it and like take down buildings and stuff. Yeah, you could do something really cool with that. Yeah,
the finals got me a hankering for some destructible environments.
That was great.
Yeah.
When that game is good, that game is good.
Yeah,
really good.
But Donkey Kong Bonanza, £67 from Nintendo apparently for the physical version. So £10 less than Mario Kart World. Apparently, according to Rich Ledbetter from Digital Foundry, says it had a native 1080p rendering resolution and 60 FPS was maintained with some occasional drops in the preview footage. But he says it's clear the improved CPU and GPU are being asked to do a whole lot more based around the physics on display, which is clearly what that game is trying to show off. Like, check out these physics. You can chuck shit and break shit. And I like I said, I don't recall seeing him fight one enemy. I don't know about you.
You must have missed it, surely.
Yeah. I need to trawl through the footage again and find that out. But what was I going to say? When the trailer first came up, when it first like showed that thing and it had like Inga Isle, which is like an alliteration, obviously. I was sitting there watching it with a Pikmin guy at work who kept being like, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go do the backups if Pikmin 5's not going to be announced. I was like, it's not going to be, mate. Like, they just did 4. Like, if you just go. I said to him, is this fucking Banjo-Kazooie? Because that first shot on the trailer where it had like that little kind of, I don't know, gemstone thing with eyes on it, I was like, holy shit. They've reeled Rare back in. They're doing a Banjo. This is going to blow up the internet. And it was Donkey Kong, the Digger game. I need to be convinced for sure. Yeah, it looks gorgeous. To be fair,
I'm into the new design. I quite like the way Donkey Kong looks. I'm okay with that. I see he's quite controversial, but I think he's fine.
Yeah, they've clearly tried to copy the movie visual of like the movie model of Donkey Kong. I think, or at least that's the thing that they're pardon the pun, aping with this Donkey Kong sprite, is that I think it's supposed to look most like the movie version that we've just seen Seth Rogen do.
He's just weirdly, it's like them to me. I maybe need to look at the movie version again. It's like sort of the movie design, but his fur looks almost like feathers to me. It's really odd.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. And he keeps sticking his tongue out all the time as well. Like he's a very sort of thirsty lad.
You're right. I'm watching a video here while we're recording this, and he's running about a rock friend on his shoulder, just digging holes. Yeah. Really.
If you see an enemy, pipe up.
I will.
No matter what I'm saying, tell me.
Interestingly, there hasn't been any yet. Which is, very weird now that you've mentioned that.
Right. Let's. I guess Mario Kart World is the next one.
Yes.
So it was obviously the first one in the direct, but it's the main event here, really.
For me, this is the main event. I mean, like I know, and I like. You put Metroid off to the side because for some reason Metroid games just don't get me excited, but when you can actually get me to sit down and play them, I very much enjoy them. So I appreciate that one, but for me this is the one game that I was like, oh, that looks good. I think
it looks amazing.
Yeah,
I think it genuinely looks amazing. This idea of having the free roam stuff, I'm not massively into. It's got 24 races per race, which I find as exciting as I do, slightly worrying because, well, certainly from when so it seems to be like this other. I think it's either in the World Tour mode or it's in like the Grand Prix mode. You're doing a Grand Prix race and then you are driving from that track to the next one, and that part is also a race. From some of the things I saw, and it might have mainly just been the driving to the next track part, they seem very wide, and I know that the Wii Mario Kart is often seen as like the black sheep of the franchise. A lot of people's problems with that is that they had really wide tracks. I think to compensate for the fact that they were expecting people to use the Wii remote on its side like a steering wheel.
Okay.
So that was kind of like giving people a bit of leeway. Whereas Mario Kart's way more fun if you're drifting around corners at like breakneck speed and stuff. So I will worry if the tracks are too wide and not that very interesting to drive around. I did see one that was based on the original Donkey Kong game that looked absolutely amazing. So I don't know if my fears are that warranted there. It's got like grinding and wall riding in it as well. It's got this knockout tour
I like the grinding and that knockout tour sounds great as well.
Yeah, where you basically like so it's an elimination style race. At the end of every lap, the 4 lowest placed racers get eliminated. So that's going to be great fun. I love the fact that this like they're trying to it seems that they're trying to make it kind of like Outrun in certain parts of this, where like I say, transitioning from one bit to the next is like it's tickling me right in the heart.
I think it's great because I was coming into this when I would think about Mario Kart periodically. I did wonder. I was like, given what they've done with Mario Kart 8, with all the tracks, all the characters that you can go as, I was like, where do they actually take a new Mario Kart game?
Exactly.
And exactly. They've justified it to me. I think it looks great. The open world, like I'm a big fan of the Forza Horizon games. It just looks like that, but Mario Kart.
Yes, Mario Kart Horizon. It's got a big feeling of that. Absolutely,
which I'm kind of into. I'm very pleased with this. This is probably the one game that I was like, I need to play this one.
Yeah, I'm not paying £75 for it, which is why I had to get the pre-order with the digital version for $4.20, because that's actually pretty good considering it's $3.95 for the Switch, and then to get Mario Kart on top of it, you're basically paying £35 more.
That's the thing that
like £40 off.
Genuinely gives me pause about the console, is that given how expensive the games are, and that Nintendo don't put their games on sale very often, and when they do, the discounts aren't very steep. So I was like,
no, it's
I
like
really
10%
want to.
if you're lucky.
I was like, I really want to play Mario Kart. Do I 80 or how much? £75?
£75 for the physical, 65 for the digital.
Yeah, 65 is a bit more palatable, but again, I don't trust it. I tend to want to have physical stuff when it comes to Nintendo games. Yeah,
they have said that the bundle with Mario Kart digitally is a limited time offer as well, so they're trying to get you in there early with that.
I feel like I'm not making much sense because I'm sort of thinking as I'm speaking, but yeah, I suppose the cheaper digital one does change it a little bit. But yeah, when I was thinking about £75 for Mario Kart, I was like, do I £75 want to play a Mario Kart game? And I'm like, the answer, honestly, sadly, as good as I think that looks, the answer is no. Given how much I play those games, like that's a game that I've probably, so Mario Kart 8, I've probably got my money's worth from playing with you. Sort of my initial spurt of playing it add on to playing with you over the years. But yeah, that's a tough ask for me for that kind of game, especially for a console that's primarily going to be an exclusives console. And then I'm thinking, are all their sort of first party games going to start being that price? And if the answer is yes, it becomes a really hard sell. It really becomes a hard sell for me.
It's why they didn't mention it in the direct itself. They didn't put any prices on any of the games, and it's really egregious. And it has, like, we haven't touched on this yet. It's kind of been the elephant in the room, but it has really dampened the discourse around this console reveal. Like the direct itself was something of a letdown, I would say. It's hard when you're iterating on a massively popular console and the gimmicks are all exactly the same. That's kind of, it's been normalized everywhere, but in Nintendo's world, where they would always do something crazy with it. So this feels very safe from them, which it should be, because that's all you need. All anyone wanted from the Switch 2 was just make the Switch better. It's you've nailed the form factor, like the handheld hybrid shit, brilliant. Just make it not run everything terribly. So that they've done that part, but to leave all of this stuff out and then push us to £75 games. And in America, you're talking like $90 plus. I think that's like pre-tax. Like, yeesh. They are fucked. And of course, with the tariffs as well, they're going to be it's probably going to be even more than that. So I hate that they've tried to push us to 75 quid. You know, the big talking point now is, oh, well, a GTA 6 is going to be £100. No game is worth £70 to me. I don't think I've paid £70 for anything yet since that price went to that. No. I will wait. I will buy it from, I have bought physical games from shops that are charging less than the MSRP or RRP, whatever you want to call it. So there is that hope there, but right out the gate, 75 quid. I mean, Donkey Kong's £10 less, so maybe not all their games are going to be like that, but you can absolutely bet the next Mario and Zelda are going to be that price.
Yeah, the ones you actually want to play are going to be that price.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a bummer, yeah, because like you're saying,
it's a real bummer.
The console's iterative, so like I've sort of come away from this whole Switch 2 thing, thinking like other than the price, they've sort of largely done what I would have hoped they would have done. They didn't need to sort of chuck the baby out with the bathwater. The Switch 2 is what it should have been, but because of, I mean, I actually don't think there's, like you're saying, the sort of one takeaway game for me from this was Mario Kart. But then when you sort of couple that, it's a new console, there's really one game that I'm excited to play, and your games are becoming extremely expensive. I've come away from this whole thing quite unenthused, I think is probably the right word, and I'm quite sad by that, to be honest. Because I want to be excited. Like, new console launches are like the exciting time. When the games industry, you should be hyped and excited for what a company is going to be doing for the next guts of 7-8 years, maybe a decade. So like, but yeah, I'm finding myself a little bit bummed out, if I'm honest.
Yeah, but you're not alone. You know, the Treehouse event where they streamed this fantastic looking video game was absolutely bombarded 2 days running with just the comment section saying drop the price in capital letters. And you can tell, well, first of all, you could tell the people doing the stream were not reading that. And if they were reading that, I swear I was, sort of confirmation bias, was seeing the female presenter looking incredibly like awkward in the corner. I kind of was wondering, like, I don't want to look at it.
Do they know?
Yeah, but they I mean, they've got to have seen that, and their reputation's taken a big hit from this. Prominent voices on YouTube like Yong Yeah, Angry Joe, like they are shitting on Nintendo for this. So whether that changes things, we will find out.
To translate into a lack of sales and a lack of pickup for the console. Otherwise, Nintendo are just going to ignore it and ride it out
of course they are,
like they normally do.
But in this country, as I said, the pre-orders are absolutely flying out, so it doesn't look like it is.
Which means this is just something we're going to have to get used to, because it's such a weird industry that we like the fan. Because I guess it's because you're a fan, right? People just don't want to put their money where their mouth is and not buy a game that they think is too expensive.
It's the same. It's the same with loads of sort of entertainment passion things that people have in their lives. Football. The amount of times that I see people talk about, in relation to Tottenham and how Daniel Levy is the worst thing in the history of mankind, and we must get him out and show him that we're not standing for this. But the suggestion that people say is like, don't go to the games, but please don't put your tickets back on the exchange to get your money back, because otherwise somebody else will just buy it, and then so that's what happens. People when they don't want to go to the games, they have to sell the tickets, and someone else will pick it up. And so it never translates back. It never hits these people in the pocket. No. And it's not going to happen here.
Nintendo do react. I mean, like we spoke about the Rocky 3DS launch at the beginning of this podcast. They do react when things go wrong. I just don't see that.
At least they have done.
Yeah. I just don't see that with this one. People want to play Mario Kart and Metroid too much.
Me included. I've already pre-ordered it, so but I didn't pay £75 for the game, I guess. If I had to, I was struggling. I was thinking to myself, like, if I can't secure the pre-order for Mario Kart included in the bundle, this is a tough sell. I don't want to pay £75 for a game. I don't want to have to sink to admitting that, okay, fine, I'll pay it, because I would do that.
That's the thing, is I'm pretty bummed out. Like I say, I know I keep saying bummed out, but it's the first time I can actually remember me looking at a console launch coming up and thinking, I'm going to wait, because there's no games there's one game that I want to play, but you're right, that's the way to get it. If you want to play Mario Kart, you got to get the bundle, because actually it's not a bad deal. It's a pretty good deal, to be honest. The console.
Don't know how you can limit a bundle with a digital version of it on there, but okay, fine. If you say so.
Yeah.
Doing that digital scarcity shit again.
So yeah, I don't know, like you seem broadly similar in feelings to me to this, in that I'm
disappointed in them.
Disappointed, but there's some cool stuff going around. But the shine has definitely been taken off of it because of various decisions, and sort of, I don't know, just the market at the moment is odd. And
they're pushing it where they can.
It's surprising Nintendo are the ones that are doing it, because I feel like we've spoken about this before, about people chasing money and things like that, and to me, I would rather see video game companies try to make game development cheaper than continue to ratchet the price up, because they as an industry, they talk about people not buying new games. I'm sorry, but I think this is why games are becoming extremely expensive. And like, say, okay, if The Witcher 4 came out, I would pay a premium for that, because I'd be fairly confident that I'm going to like it. Asking me to spend,
certainly going to get your money's worth, time-wise.
If you're asking me to spend, well, what they seem to be edging towards, 75, 80 quid for a new IP, that's a big ask for someone to take a punt on. I just think they need to find a way to reduce development costs and I'm convinced, I know I've sounded like a broken record at this point, and this isn't what Nintendo are doing, because the console isn't powerful enough, but like when it comes to like the Sony big budget stuff, I'm convinced that most people don't actually care if your puddles are like 30-40% less shiny. Like, people just want fun games, and if it runs properly, good frame rate, and it looks okay, I think that's what most people want. Anyway, I'm a broken record now.
I just don't understand how game development hasn't become more efficient and cheaper. Like, why is technological advancement not helping to?
I thought AI was meant to solve this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such an odd industry at the moment, and it just feels like it's in a sort of unsustainable spot. And I don't know, it might be a little bit tinfoil hat, but like, it doesn't seem out with the realms of possibility that we're heading towards a sort of another crash. Because if someone like me who will generally be there day and date, ride or die for any video game console, is thinking this isn't worth the price, then they've got big problems, I think. And I'm sure they can't be the only one.
Well, yeah, I saw, again, it's Reddit chat, but a lot of the sentiments in the Nintendo subreddits was, I'm not paying this. I'm going to wait. Mm-hmm. So, and like I said, the chat on the Treehouse was brutal, hilarious, but absolutely brutal. And it's making, people are noticing and they're reporting on it, and that stuff is going around. So that's all we can really do at this point, is if you don't pay those prices for things and you speak up wherever you get the opportunity to do so. Mm-hmm. So we hope that it works. They also did the camera stuff involved with that, with this whole, like, you can watch somebody else's face in front of Mario Kart while the game plays at 4 frames a second behind them. Terrible. Like, it's fucking embarrassing.
Why is it so bad?
I just don't. I will never understand that. And like you and I said to each other, I think in text form, like, I don't want to watch you while I'm playing a game, because I need to concentrate on the game.
Yeah.
I struggle enough having I think when we do play Mario Kart, we don't generally tend to have a casual chat, which kind of upsets me, because it's like we're hanging out, but we can't really chat because this is insane what's going on around us. The game is so high octane, you can't concentrate.
Yeah.
So if I have to look at something else as well, it's I think I'm never going to use it.
I probably won't even. They made such a big deal. It's like, oh, you can be in a chat and play different games. I'm like, yeah. Why is that a selling point? That's a bare minimum.
Yeah.
What do you think of the?
I mean,
sorry, carry on.
No, go on.
I was going to change subject. So if this is on the
that's fine. No. Yeah, that subject's done. Yeah. I don't want to talk about that camera.
What do you think
anymore.
of the mobile phone stuff with Link to the Past and Breath of the Wild, or whatever? Not Link to the Past, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
So that's with like this Zelda Notes thing, isn't it? Where you can kind of use it to
you basically have your map.
Fucking give you a sat nav.
Yeah, you can basically use it as your map and sort of place points and stuff on the map that will sort of appear in game, and you can take notes if you want to take notes, like wine notes.
I mean, I do that, right? I do that with my phone now. If I get lost, I'm going to whip it open and look on there. So yeah,
I like the idea of being able to look at the map. I really do like the idea of sort of, if I could pull up the map and see the map in sort of semi-real time and plot markers and stuff on it, rather than have to sort of go through pause menus. A phone's a good intuitive way to be able to do that. So I'm kind of into that.
I assume tablets will do the same thing too.
I like the idea. I've always liked the idea of being able to have. I think I did it with Fallout 3 when you could do that. You would just sort of put your tablet up in front of you and just have your Pip-Boy on your tablet, and you could sort of just scroll through that rather than going through the menus. That was a great thing.
Yeah, that's. I think that's Fallout 4, wasn't it?
Was it 4 that did that?
Yeah,
because they definitely would be 3. Right.
That was one of the most underrated things on the Wii U, because it always felt like an obvious addition to it, but holding that gamepad up and having a map on, when you and I played Wind Waker on there, I mean, that was invaluable, right? Especially on the Wii.
So good. We spoke about this back in the day, but like there was some untapped potential for that Wii U gamepad, and because they tied it to one per console, so you couldn't have multiples. It kind of ruined it a little bit. But to me, like, if done properly, that's where you would play FIFA or Madden, because you could pick your plays on Madden, you could make substitutes via the controller. But I don't know if they ever properly did that. So maybe they're back.
I think they did, but the games were always so pared down that
it just wasn't fun.
Yeah, yeah. There's IGN have published the list of the characters in Mario Kart, and it's fucking stupid.
Is it?
I remember
are there a lot?
Yeah,
because
they were saying that there's going to be like more than ever.
There's no Link or anything, is there?
No, and I was really disappointed with that, because they did say that there's like 60 different playable characters. It's going to be the biggest Mario Kart ever, and I was expecting this. Okay, this is going to be Nintendo Kart finally, because they've added some into the last game. But when IGN have published this list of stuff that they've written down, there's a cow in there. I know people that's been a meme on the internet now, but there's a cow is one of the playable characters. Like, why? Did they run out of different coloured Yoshis? Is that it? Like, there's no colours left in the palette for Yoshi anymore. Let's put a cow in there. because at the moment, it's just the standards, really. It's like Mario and all of them lot, Yoshi, Bowser, Wario, Waluigi, Donkey Kong, Birdo, and then the baby ones.
Oh yeah,
Bowser Jr.,
Mm-hmm.
Wiggler, Nabbit, Hammer Bro. Okay, but then they've got all this stuff like Yoshi, Food Slinger. What the fuck? Toad, Burger Bud. What is this shit? King Boo, Aristocrat. Oh yeah, it's King Boo in a fucking top hat.
How is Cow going to ride a car? He's got no hands. I want to see. I want to see the cow in a car.
Neither is a Goomba, but you can be a Goomba now.
Oh,
yeah, very strange. A very strange roster. I don't know if that's 60 characters, including all the costumes. I'm assuming not. Oh yeah, that stupid frog from Odyssey. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Link will come. Don't worry, he will come.
Just, I'm sure he will.
They've got to plan some DLC to sell, right?
Yeah. The last thing I want to talk about from the Direct and some stuff I found recently, it was finally them announcing that GameCube is going to be part of the Nintendo Switch Online library.
Yep. Good.
I'm sure the Switch is capable of that, but fine.
Yeah.
They seem to have absolved themselves of not having released Wind Waker HD on the Switch by giving us Wind Waker the original on the GameCube Nintendo Switch Online, which will be the version with the slow sales and the bullshit expressed at the end. Soul Calibur 2 as one of the 3 they showed was I could not believe that.
Yeah,
but that was one of the 3. The one with Link is absolutely fantastic. That game.
Good. We'll have to play that. Might eventually get to play it again. Bring it up, and I'm going to keep talking about it until I do it. I need to get into fighting games for a while.
Fighting game, yeah.
Need to try it.
Yeah. F-Zero GX, the hardest video game ever made, was the third one that they showed off. It's great. It's just impossible. Like the single player story mode is impossible.
I genuinely the only F-Zero I've ever played, other than the free one they put out, the multiplayer one.
Oh yeah.
Is F-Zero on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, the N64 one it was a real favourite of mine.
Okay.
GX is just too hard.
F-Zero,
however, they do appear to be doing, I'm pretty sure, well, you've definitely got online multiplayer for these games if they had a multiplayer component in them. Obviously, Wind Waker's not got online multiplayer. I've seen they've also shown the 4 swords. Someone's been shown a clip of the 4 swords thing where you needed 4 GBAs. Like I said earlier, I'm halfway there.
Yeah, you're getting there.
4 GBAs, 4 link cables, and a GameCube, and 3 mates. So that's apparently going to come to it as well. They also, in that little slideshow they showed at the end, I saw Mario Sunshine, which hilariously will be better than the version that they put in the Mario All-Stars, because this one will run at 60. And because the original game did, and it will be in 4K. So Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is going to be on there, which great. That's another very difficult game, but that's a very good game. Pokemon XD, whatever the fuck that is, Mario Strikers, Chibi Robo, Luigi's Mansion, and Pokemon Colosseum are the ones that they showed off in that video, not with footage, but just the box art. So, an all right start to that library. Very glad it's there. They're also apparently adding on Switch 2 only a CRT filter, which is on the GameCube ones as well, but they're also going to add that to N64 games as well. They're also going to do stick in some button remapping and the rewind feature that you have for the SNES and NES libraries already. They're going to add that to the N64 ones as well, so you can rewind them if you fuck up. I don't know if they've said they're going to do that for the GameCube library. They do have save states, so that might at least make F-Zero GX slightly more bearable. Not sure. And then,
am I the only person that, like, I don't care if it's an old game that you would have played on a CRT. I want that game to be as shiny and nice looking as it possibly can be. All these fucking
I've never CRT ever used
filters. I don't know why people are people using. People must use them. They must have stats that show people. Use them.
Yeah. I swear I've seen people complaining about games not having them, which is mad.
Yeah.
Because I have a CRT, and it doesn't look that bad. If you've got a nice, sharp, smaller one, games look sharp as hell. Yeah, okay. Then there's also a fuckload of ports, none of which looked particularly impressive. Hades 2, maybe.
Yeah, that was maybe the one. I thought some of the ports actively made the games look worse. Like I thought Hogwarts Legacy looked terrible.
Yes, it did. I was very surprised by that.
Cyberpunk people are saying it's not looking good either. But
not surprised by that. They had to get Civilization 7 in there so they could do more for the mouse controls, because someone's got to be using those.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 7 remake integrate. Okay, fine. But one of the more egregious things in the direct, probably worse than the price of Mario Kart, was that Randy Pitchford got some screen time for Borderlands 4. He looks even more ridiculous than I remembered.
Yeah.
They had, what else did they have? Tony Hawk's 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Split Fiction, Street Fighter 6, Elden Ring, Yakuza 0's getting like a director's cut with more content. I'm not playing it again. I've still got so many to catch up with. Again, that looked to be running in 30 FPS, and that's a PS3 game, for fuck's sake. I don't know what the hell's going on there. Hitman World of Assassination, and then they just showed a James Bond logo, not even the name of the game, just Project 007.
I did get briefly excited. I was like, oh, we're actually going to get to see the game? No.
That'd have been a coup, wouldn't it? Like, we're going to show off the first footage of this Bond. But then I think we said at the time, like, why would you risk showing your new Bond game on the least powerful hardware?
Yeah, that's a great point.
You just wouldn't.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out. I'm assuming all of those, apart from the ones that haven't been released yet, will be there on the 5th of June when this game, the console comes out.
Yeah, for us not to buy.
Well, I've already bought it, but I'm not buying any of those. Yes,
that's what I mean.
Yeah. So that's kind of all the information I have to splurge upon the listening and you audience.
As you're a much bigger Nintendo fan than me, so as a sort of Nintendo fan, taking away the pricing of things, I guess it's good enough, right? What else would you have wanted to see? More games?
Yeah, probably more. Yeah,
it did feel quite light on the game front.
It feels like Nintendo really haven't pumped out a lot in the last 2 years.
Which I assumed because they were all hands on deck with Switch 2 games. Apparently not.
It doesn't seem that way. Yeah. I mean, because Metroid Prime 4, whilst it looks amazing, is being dealt with by Retro. I'm sure Nintendo have got hands on it as well, but that's not a true first-party development game. So they've come up with Donkey Kong, which they seem to have taken back from Retro.
Yeah, they seem to not.
And Mario Kart, which
keen to say who's developing that. Have they said since?
They haven't really, have they?
No.
But I think it must be just them. So, yeah. I mean, I'm excited as I always will be for a Nintendo console because it guarantees me access to all the stuff that they're going to put out, and it's probably all mostly going to be great.
Yeah.
So, and as much as I want a Steam Deck, this is probably going to handle indie games on the go pretty fine. So, it wasn't as mind blowing as I wanted, and the pricing since has been a real downer on everything. But taking a step back and kind of looking at hearing the hands-on talk from a lot of people who are saying like this thing looks the shit when you have it in your hands. It feels much nicer to play. It runs faster. The games are looking pretty awesome. The hype for Mario Kart is there, which is weird. Like, it is weird to be super hyped for a kart racer, but we are a kart racer podcast, as we've said many a time.
You're right.
So I am there.
It is weird for the hype. It's odd that they're sort of this is their big one for their big launch game is a kart racer.
Yeah,
it's weird.
I will say that Mario Kart World is a great name.
Mm-hmm.
Much better than Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is a terrible name.
Where do they go now, though? Like, now they've done World. I guess that's for developers to worry about in 10 years.
Universe. Yeah.
Yeah, Universe. Maybe it just goes...
Or they just put a number on the end again.
Yeah.
Because I was worried that I'd heard chatter that it wasn't going to be Mario Kart. If they were going to number it, they weren't going to call it Mario Kart 9. They were going to call it Mario Kart 10 because they count the fucking mobile one as number 9.
No.
And I am not having that.
No.
So I'm glad they just avoided that controversy altogether and just stuck something else on the end, and we'll come back to the numbers. Maybe they'll pretend the phone one doesn't exist and just do a Mario Kart 10 as the next one, and make it just, I don't know. You get to drive in. I don't know. That free roam thing just is the only thing about that I'm not hyped for.
I want to see what they fill it with. I mean, obviously they'll need to add stuff to it, because like free roam in and of itself isn't that interesting. Well, I'm trying to think, like Forza Horizon. I've got like you get races, you get point to point racing, which I assume that, like you seem to say that you're saying they're going to have that. Then there's like the speed zones, drift zones.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah,
just little things to actually do within that world, rather than just go, oh look, it's that track that I was just on, but I can park next to it. That's not exciting.
No, combat zones maybe. Yeah, I don't know what they'll do. It would be. I would. It would be cool if you could see other people driving about, but that doesn't seem to be a thing. So.
Oh yeah, other like online players, yeah. But hey, we've always sort of bemoaned the fact that Diddy Kong Racing had the adventure mode in it, which is just awesome and has like character to it and objectives and boss fights and stuff. And why has Nintendo never done anything like that? And they aren't doing that here again, but they are at least pushing the basic formula out somewhat from those Grand Prix online.
They've made Mario Kart feel fresh, which I have. Like I said back at the beginning of this podcast, I didn't think they could have done. So
yeah, they better do for that price.
Yeah.
Do you still want to do the top 10 Switch games? Have we got enough time for that? Should we pump it in nice and quick?
Yeah.
20 minutes and we're out. All right. You can introduce that.
Okay, let me find my list first. Okay, to round out this podcast, Alex and I have put together a nice little top 10 list of a list of each of our top 10 Switch games. So we're just going to, I guess, run through them, have a chat about them, and then see how our lists compare, which I think probably going to be quite different.
I would say so. And of course, as always, if one of us has the same game somewhere higher in our list, we will talk about it when that person's one comes up instead of, Mm-hmm. You can start with number 10.
I've got Dave the Diver at number 10.
Oh, yeah, a game that I kind of... you didn't get that until I talked about it, right? And then you basically finished it and I didn't. Completely dropped off it.
Yeah, that is a cool game. It's a great game to sort of turn your brain off. And I think we speak about this from time to time on podcasts. There are different games for different moods, and this is a game that you can just sort of veg out on the couch, go do some fishing, collect some stuff, bring it back, and then make some sushi at the end of the day. And then there's like it is not what it seems to be. So like it seems to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, you definitely said it changes at some point.
It very much changes and almost turns into sort of an RPG at some point, where you're sort of you meet a bunch of mer people down in the depths of the ocean who have you start doing missions for them and helping them with their problems and things like that. So you're sort of juggling the story part of the game with trying to make money in your shop. So you've got to have fish to put on your menu. So you've got to fish to do that. And then you've got to, so you do a lot of juggling. Then you have to start going out at night to catch specific types of fish and do different missions at different times of day and interact. Yeah, it becomes an incredibly in-depth game when on the surface it just seems like this little jaunt.
It does.
But yeah, it's a nice relaxing game. Had a lot of fun with it. Maybe a touch alongside, but it's still good.
And you finished it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
nice. Mm-hmm. That's one of my biggest laments, and it keeps coming back to me because I've just started picking up a game, a run-based card game that will come up probably later for both of us. And one of the decks, the customizable decks in that, the only one I even have any remote interested in is Dave the Diver, and it makes me sad every time those cards come out. So I need to finish that game.
Finish that game.
Good shout though. Yeah, I'm very proud of you for finishing that because at least one of us got the enjoyment out of it that I hoped I would have.
It's a good old time.
My number 10 is Luigi's Mansion 3, which I don't believe you have played.
I've not played. It's one of these games that I think would probably be on my list if I had played it. But yeah, I haven't.
I think so.
I've only ever played the first Luigi's Mansion. A little bit of the 3DS one, but I don't think enough to have played it.
Yes, that one, which I'm pretty sure they've just re-released as well on the Switch one. They have the HD version of 2. 2 is the weakest one for me in the series.
To get to that then. Do the old
3. Well, you could do the whole trilogy, yeah. But 3 has got three's basically set in like a sort of a hotel. They go and visit this massive hotel, and it's got like different floors of the hotel have these different themes to them. Like one of them's even like some sort of movie studio. It's yeah, it at least allows them a lot more creative license to make the areas more than just like a rote, like a one note. Here's some spooky mansion forever, and the ghosts are slightly different. So they really kind of pushed the boat out on the interior design of that one, and it has a really great co-op component in it where you have Guiji as this second character, which you can control yourself in single player with the other analog stick. But I played this on a holiday, maybe during COVID when we shouldn't have been on holiday, with my nephew. And he was quite young at that point. So he was, how old would he have been? About 8-ish. And so him playing as Luigi with less of, the risk of being actual Luigi, he can't die or whatever. Really brilliant way to experience a game with somebody who's like of a lower ability or a younger age. Sure. Like a really cool component to it, but also a really clever mechanic to sort of have to solve these puzzles by him having to like go through grates and all this kind of stuff because he can like sort of goo himself through them. Be a beautiful looking game as well. I played it. Then you and I did Luigi's Mansion 1 for the podcast, and I love Luigi's Mansion 1.
Yeah, we had a great time with that.
And then I probably thought this is my favourite, but I maybe need to go back to Mansion 3 again and just reevaluate and think about it, because this probably, it's either this or 1 that would be my favourite. I mean, it's not exactly a massive pool to choose from, but I remember thinking it was a really, really good time. Definitely recommended for sure.
It's one of these. One of these sorry games that's in my backlog that I've wanted to get to for a long, long time.
Something you could potentially, get Annie to get involved with.
Yeah,
if she's up for it, a little bit of co-op gaming.
She'll probably just fall asleep like she normally does.
Fair, yeah, fair. What's your number 9?
I've got SteamWorld Heist, which is like,
2D
baby's first XCOM sort of thing, where turn-based combat. You level up your guys. If you die, well, they don't stay dead. You can sort of bring them back to life, but they don't come back to life in the level that you're playing. It's a really, it's a really, really good, simple sort of space pirate game. The story is what it is, but it's the gameplay missions that are fun, and they've got a nice little sort of cadence of like mission types. You get some where you've got to like get through mission. You're sort of getting chased, so you've got to get through missions at the same point. Sometimes you've got to work your way through a ship, get to the end, and then you've got to get off it. So like it becomes.
So there is a heist element too.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's nice
thing
that within the same level they'll change what you're doing. So it becomes this really methodical turn-based puzzle game almost, where you're trying to get through, keeping everyone alive. And then you get through and you sort of do your thing, and then perhaps the ship's going to explode, but then enemies start popping out behind you. So you've gone from being this like slow, deliberate, methodical thing into this like sort of high octane, frantic, trying to get off the ship before it explodes, but also trying to not push forward far enough so that you leave yourself exposed and get killed. There's a nice sort of little slant where each robot has got their own sort of weapon specialty, so you want to try and build weapon loadouts that sort of augment each other and fit your style of play and things like that. So you get like shotgunners, bazooka people with snipers, and it's great, really good. And the add-ons are nice as well. I can highly recommend.
I do like the sort of SteamWorld universe.
Yes,
I guess
the only one I played was
Dig 2 on the Switch.
Okay. I played Dig 1 recently. The only SteamWorld game I didn't quite get on with was the sort of city builder one. What was that called? SteamWorld games.
I don't know. Have they got one of them's isn't one like a deck builder as well?
Yeah, that's I would say fun for a short period of time.
Right.
SteamWorld Quest is the deck builder. SteamWorld Build is the town sort of city builder.
And you've tried that as well?
Yeah, I think I've played them all now. Apart from SteamWorld Dig 2, I've not played that yet.
That's great. You'd like that.
Yeah, I think I would. I kind of wanted to get through 1 first, but I think 2's a much better version of that. so I should probably just jump straight to it.
Yeah, definitely. Nice. My number 9 is Pikmin 4.
Oh, this is another game I've not played that you rave about that I need to get to.
Yeah, this is definitely the most accessible Pikmin game. One that's probably slightly a bit over heavy on some of the dialogue. It gets a bit talky. I think you can skip through it. So if you just tell yourself I don't care, and then you can cut through all of that bullshit. Looks absolutely gorgeous, and it just like I said, it's just they've kind of fine-tuned it enough where there are elements of it that are still challenging, and you can obviously turn up the difficulty, I think, afterwards. But as an introductory game for Pikmin, this works like an absolute treat. I've tried it briefly in the past, didn't get on with it. This one just really captured me. The addition of the dog is brilliant. Probably makes the game a bit too easy, but they've got these they've added these other things to it, these challenges where you've got to do certain things like as fast as possible, which really kind of tests your skills at what you've learned that the game wants to teach you. Like I say, a really sort of relaxing time, kind of like Dave the Diver style as well, where it's just so serene. It's all like shiny graphics. You're picking up these beautiful looking giant fruits with all your little lads, sparkly little water effects, and you're running around on your little dog mate. An absolutely fantastic time. Like a really unique experience. There aren't really any games that are kind of like Pikmin 4 in this, where they're sort of like a real-time strategy, but also have elements of like third-person platforming almost in them. It's absolutely fantastic. I haven't finished it though because I did actually get stuck. So there, I'm saying it's too easy. Yeah. On one of these, I think they're called Dandori challenges, where I just can't do it. Like I've got to do a certain amount of stuff quickly enough, and I'm obviously not coordinated properly with my lads to get them to work right. But yeah, that's my number 9. What's your number 8?
This is probably quite a cheeky one, because I don't think it was originally on the Switch, but it did come to Switch. I've got Super Mario 3D World.
The Bowser's Fury introduction, addition to that, makes it definitive on Switch for sure.
Yeah, I just really like this game. I think it's just a great old time. I love the 3D Mario games. We've got one coming up soon on the podcast.
For a man who doesn't like to waggle anymore, he's going to be doing it, boys.
He's going to be waggling a hell of a lot. I just think
he bought himself a peripheral for waggling.
I did.
On his PC.
I just think this is a cool game. I had a great time with it. It's fun. That's really all I've got to say. I think the 3D Mario games are generally pretty good. I can't think of many bad ones. It's just a solid. It's one. It kind of made it on my list. So, like, for example, I remember when the new Super Mario Brothers series came out. I first came along. I was a big into that, and then I went back to it.
I think everybody was.
Yeah, but then I went back to it on Switch. I rebought the games on certainly the one that came with the one
that was the Wii U one, wasn't it?
The Wii U one. Yeah, I bought it on Switch, and it hasn't aged well. It felt slow. It felt clunky. It felt almost unresponsive, and it lacked the magic that I felt like it had when it originally came on.
Very
Super Mario
games.
3D World for me doesn't suffer from that. It's still a great game that's good today. I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really cool. It's not to call it not a full 3D Mario is maybe a bit harsh, but it's it has got that blend of 2D Mario sensibility to it, where you're going for a flagpole at the end, and the levels are quite a lot shorter than they would be if you were doing an Odyssey, for example. But obviously a real charming element to it, and the Switch one that comes with Bowser's Fury, which is this amazing little sort of open world Mario game where you're hopping around from island to island and then doing like little Mario 64 style things on these individual islands. All the while Bowser will come out and start trying to fuck the whole place up. What a cool thing that they did for that. And I think the next Mario game will probably try and expand upon that, I would imagine. This Switch is the place to play it. I do own on Switch. Yeah. Fantastic. That was your number what? 8?
7. Oh, so I've given you my 7 instead of my 8. Sorry. I'll do my next one next.
Okay, my number 8 is Fire Emblem Three Houses, the game I will forever tell
Another
David
one
he must
that I've not
play.
played that I need to play. You're good at listing these so far. What have we got
Yeah,
that I've not played? Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah. Pikmin 4, Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Pikmin 4, Fire Emblem. I did actually look Fire Emblem 3 Houses up on Vinted recently, but it's like 35 quid still. Second hand, that game.
Yeah, Nintendo tax in it. I think I've got rid of that. I think I traded that in, you know. What a fucking bugger that is, because I would have sent you that in the post otherwise. It's like Fire Emblem games have had their sort of renaissance on the DS, 3DS? Can't remember now. Maybe a DS with Fire Emblem Awakening.
I played so much of the mobile game, Fire Emblem.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. I played quite a lot of that as well, actually. These are just brilliant turn-based strategy games. A genre that I think well, first of all, I think I prefer them in some ways to traditional JRPGs, because there's just a little bit more not thinking around it, because I think when JRPGs get too convoluted, then I just nope out of them. But these ones, like the extra level of the strategy of like the grid based stuff that you have to try and get yourself in position for, I just prefer that to running in tall grass and getting attacked constantly, because these obviously set up in a mission format, so you know it's got that XCOM element to it on top of that. This one kind of added in this school based Harry Potter style relationship simulator thing, where you kind of have to build up your rapport with all of your teammates, or your schoolmates rather, and it's just like in these big giant kind of like old English style looking university rooms and stuff, and there's lots of backstabbing and betrayals, and you've got multiple ways to replay the game by picking a different house every time. The different houses have their different strengths. Character development's good. It's well acted. Again, something I hope will run better on Switch 2, because it does have some pacing or frame rate issues when it's in the sort of 3D open world roaming stuff. But the battles themselves are as challenging as Fire Emblem is. But this one also added that the thing of you don't have to have permadeath on, so you can kind of make it a bit easier for yourself as well. It's between this and Awakening for me is the best Fire Emblem games I've ever played. So I think for a newcomer, that's a great one to start with.
Great Three Houses. Point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Right, what's your number 8 then? You've done 7.
What an idiot. And my number 8 is Slay the Spire. I love
of course. I
love a deck building game, and this is a sort of roguelike deck building game, and it's just a really good one. A bit like some other games that are maybe on this list. When you get ahead of steam up in these deck games, when you sort of create a build that it just feels unstoppable. There's really nothing else like it in games like this, when you just feel like you've almost broken the game. And this is just a really fun, thoughtful version of that, and I'm very much looking forward to Slay the Spire 2, which I think is imminent.
It's been in early access for a while, has it? That one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I played this off of your recommendation, and it was a spot on recommendation. It's a fantastic deck building game. I just suck at it. I can't beat it.
It's tough.
Is it beatable? I don't know.
I beat
it's not
it.
An endless game, is it?
No, I've beat it once, and then just could not get back there. Tried to then do subsequent different types of decks, and just couldn't quite do it.
Yeah, it's one of those games where I haven't beaten it. It was a long time ago that I didn't beat it, and if I try and go back to it again, I don't think I remember how to play it, and I'll be at a really hard part, and I'll have loads of stuff unlocked, so I need to just start fresh.
I had that
because it is wonderful.
Yeah, I had that problem recently. It's in on Volume 1. There's a guy in that book that he talks about. He's put something like 2,000 hours Slay the Spire. So after that, I was like, I need to go back and remind myself of it. But yes, the time has passed for that game.
Let us play the second one from fresh and just accept that.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's a great. If a game that will probably pop up on both our lists later on has sort of opened your eyes to deck building games on computers, this is one that has been around for years and is excellent.
Yeah, because it's also it's definitely more of a visual spectacle than something we'll be talking about later, where you actually get some sort of visual shit that's actually quite cool to look at. It's got a decent art style that I quite like as well. On top of that, quite vibrant and colourful. A fantastic game. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised I didn't even put it in my honourable mentions, but I think I just assumed you were going to talk about it, so I didn't bother.
I'm here,
and I suck at it, so you know. So my number 7 then is Metroid Dread. Get your pen out again, mate. I genuinely think if you played Metroid Dread, you'd probably think it was your favorite Metroid game.
Really?
I have no pause to consider that you would. It's definitely the best 2D one outside of Super Metroid on the SNES. Again, difficult combat, some very difficult boss fights, but it's the most accessible Metroid in terms of it has this kind of thing that it tries to hide under the hood, but is actually quite noticeable once you kind of figure out what's going on, where it will purposely block off certain areas that you just should not be backtracking into. So whereas the SNES one basically just drops you in the first block of the map and says, deal with that, mate. Mm-hmm. This one does a much better job, which purists may scoff at, I suppose, but it does a much better job of funneling you the right way. And it will have these set pieces or boss fights or events that happen in the game that will kind of, like I say, make it so that you can never return to a certain area. And you think, right, okay, fine. The game clearly wants me to go the way that I'm already going, so I'm doing it right. That's cool, and I know what I'm doing. It's got a relatively cool sort of parry system that it opened up in there. Again, tons of cool upgrades. It runs beautifully. It looks really good. It's just a phenomenal 2D Metroid game by the guys who did, I think it's Mercury Steam, so it's the guys who did the 2D version of Castlevania Lords of Shadow.
Okay.
It's right up there in Metroid games, I reckon. For me, it's that Prime and Super Metroid. It's like the holy trinity.
The holy trinity.
I think you'd love it, but again, it's good luck paying something you accept for playing it.
So we're on to number 6.
Yep,
I've got Shovel Knight, which is a game I fell in love with because of you, and just became absolutely obsessed with this series very briefly. For like a really hot minute. Everything about this game is great. The gameplay, the visuals, the music is so good. The level design's amazing. Yeah, I just love everything about Shovel Knight. And I love everything they did with it. Sort of turned this, because it was a new dev, wasn't it? They sort of just turned it into a whole world. Yeah, and then went through all the different bosses that you have to fight in the game and sort of made their own gameplay style out of most of them. Is that right?
Yeah, like 4 of them. 3 or 4 of them. One of them of which is a deck builder.
Yeah,
on top of it.
I love everything about this game, and if you haven't played Shovel Knight and you like platformers, get on it, because it's almost best in class for what it is. It deserves to be played handheld, and although it was originally on the 3DS, I think that might have been the first thing that it came out on, if not the Wii U, which is where I first played it, but I also have it on 3DS and on Switch and on Xbox. And I recently, insert coin, the fucking bastards just put a whole bloody Shovel Knight range out, so I bought a pair of Shovel Knight socks and some lounge pants. Yes.
They haven't arrived yet, but incredible. It's like, it's not a game that maybe necessarily people immediately associate with the Switch, but I can't think of a better platform to play it on in 2025 than it, because it's never going to have any problems running on there, and you can play it handheld wherever you go.
To me,
without having to fish out the 3DS copy and your 3DS if you can find it.
It always felt, maybe this isn't fair, but it always felt to me like a modern day take on Mega Man, and I just think it's an excellent game.
Yeah, it's like Mega Man plus DuckTales plus I guess Mario, I suppose.
It was also a game that beat me up at the start as well. I think I was texting you when I was how bad I was at it, and then by the end I was just pulling off moves. There's even, I think I've still got it on Twitch somewhere saved, that hard mode when I managed to sort of get across a gap in the complete wrong way. There was an easy way, and my brain just was not clicking what it was, and I somehow made my way across.
Yeah, you used like every single tool in your arsenal other than the most obvious one it was trying to make you use. Yeah, it's incredible work. That's got to be a speedrunner's technique you did there without realizing, I reckon. I went out, I think I've went out now, because in some of the sales that happened towards the end of last year, I went out and bought all those like spin-off-y things as well, like the puzzle type one and the digging downward like
great,
the roguelike. When I bought all of those,
I think they're sitting on my
got them all to
Steam
play.
wish list.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Great shout. This might be higher up on your one. My number 6 is Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Yes. It's higher up on my
list. Is it high?
Yes.
Okay. What's your number 6? 6 or 5?
5 now. Yeah, sorry, I've really thrown us off by me jumping around there. My number 5, we've already spoken about today, Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, me too.
It's
my number 5.
Is it number 5? We're doubled up. Yeah. It feels good. It is a great Mario Kart game. They've absolutely packed it full of content, lots and lots of tracks. It's both sort of fun to just pick up and play and also a nice little nostalgic romp because they've stuck all the older stuff in there as well. It's a great thing to play online. It's fun online. You and I have spent many a Friday night just doing Mario Kart races. And it's just such a good game.
Getting whooped by the French and the Germans.
By the French and the Germans, yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah. It's hard to argue that this isn't the ultimate Mario Kart, maybe for now anyway.
Yeah.
I'm a double dash wanker deep down, but even I have to admit that objectively this is the best Mario Kart game. And how, I remember being really annoyed when this came out on Switch, thinking like, come on, lads. And that alongside Smash Bros, where it just felt like they'd effectively, this one is a port. Smash Bros felt like it was a port kind of hiding under a different name. Mm-hmm. But they have, the way they have supported this game, like even not even a year ago, they were still pumping out extra courses on this that are all like, I haven't played them anywhere near enough since they came out, like to kind of take it all in. So this has got so much content in it. It still sells like crazy amounts even now. Like there's a reason for that. It's a fantastic video game.
And
that's why I'm so hyped for the new one.
I want to know what the sales figures are. We maybe don't have a recent one, but it's like an eye-watering amount. As of December 31st, 2024, Mario Kart 8 has sold 67.35 million units.
Bloody hell. That is more than... hold on. What were we saying earlier? That's more than the NES.
That's insane.
All of the NES. The one that saved the gaming industry has been outsold by a Mario Kart game. 67. That's almost 50% adoption rate on the Switch.
And another wee stat for you. Mario Kart series has sold 188.92 million copies worldwide. So a third of those sales, 6, 12, 80, a third of those sales has been Mario Kart for the Wii U.
Oh, wow. Switch. Wow, yeah. Bloody hell. What? Yeah, deserved, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's funny we put it both in the same place.
Yeah. And let's find out why. What's your number 4?
I wonder if this is I wonder if this is low. I've got Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild in at 4. Yeah,
it's higher on my list.
Okay.
So my number 4 is Hades, which I'm assuming because you didn't get far enough through is not on your list at all.
No, it's not on my list at all. I got to the devil once, got my ass kicked, and then I never could get back.
Oh, yeah. I think Hades is maybe surpassed or at least equaled by one other game on my list. But last time I checked, Hades
might have been number 1 for you. I thought there was
it was, well, yeah.
Certainly like a breaking the top 3.
It nearly did. It would have done had another certain game not pushed it out, but this one is definitely one of the ones that's broken the counter for the time played on my Switch. I think it only goes up to 99 hours, to be honest. So this is a firm 99 plus hour playtime for me of Hades.
I remember
I just kept going back, more and more and more runs.
Yeah, I remember you saying it was like 5 or 6 times in a row you've got right the way through and completed it.
Yeah.
Is that I think scale thing? Does your character level up to make it easier, or is that just?
There's a lot of permanent upgrades and stuff, and there's a lot of weapon upgrades that you could use. And once you kind of figured out a way to manipulate the game to give you what you wanted, which it would allow after a while, you could kind of say, right, I want to make sure that I get all the Poseidon upgrades this time around, and you could then start tailoring everything around that. Like, again, it feels like you're breaking the game. I just think this game I think we said it a few episodes ago on the 361. You know, it took that sort of the formula that Bastion had, made it into like a roguelike run based thing, sped everything up, and it just handles so well. It's just so fluid. You can blitz through this game if you know what you're doing, and you've got a really good kind of weapon loadout that you've managed to luck into. And on top of all of that, like I found it like really interesting to be in that underworld setting and have the relationships with the main character whose name escapes me, and his dad being Hades himself, and you know his estranged mum, and all of the people that kind of hang around, his mates or whatever in hell. Just really, really cool. A bit of a thirsty game, but you know you can't get everything right. I just can't wait for the second one.
I really hope it's good, and I hope they don't for Rogue Legacy it, because that was such a bummer.
Yeah,
Rogue Legacy 1 was so good, and then Rogue Legacy 2 is just a bit of a bummer.
I don't think they've tried to reinvent the wheel too much on the second one, from what I've seen from early access stuff. So whereas I think Rogue Legacy 2 probably tried to overreach a little bit. Yeah.
Sort of lost sight of what made that game good.
It did. It really did. But Hades is magnificent. What's your number
3?
3? Yeah.
Super Mario Odyssey.
Higher on my list.
Thought it might be.
My number 3, which is I'm certain is higher on your list, is Balatro.
It's higher on my list, yeah.
Okay, so my number 2, now catching up to you, is Breath of the Wild.
Definitely,
it's not my favorite Zelda game, but I think it's an incredibly important Zelda game. And at the time when it was doing all these different things of, you know, sort of fulfilling the original idea for the first one on the NES of this basically like open world exploration simulator that Miyamoto dreamt up when he was running around as a kid in all these forests and caves or whatever it was back in Japan.
It does feel like the sort of culmination of a lifetime work, and this sort of achieved eventually what they wanted, what Zelda was always supposed to be, right?
Yeah, because they, you know, everyone knows they'd followed that Ocarina of Time formula almost to the letter for everything that came after it. And people were getting sick and tired of it by the time Skyward Sword came around. This whole, you know, you do the dungeons, you get an item in the dungeon, you then use that on the boss, and then you basically might as well throw it away because you'll never use it again. Which, you know, having taken us some steps back from playing Breath of the Wild, I actually still love that formula. And I missed the elements of that Breath of the Wild omitted, where it doesn't have dungeons in it. But what it does have is this like incredible set of like physics stuff that you can use alongside a world where exploration felt organic and felt immersive in a way that a lot of open world games at that point in time were making, just filling themselves with busy work and map markers. This game just eschewed all of that and just let you figure stuff out by yourself whilst also doing all of those. It's funny, we just talked about this on the Hall of Fame when we were talking about, we did an episode on launch games where Rob picked Breath of the Wild, and I think, as of time of recording, is going to win. He called the little shrines that they had, where it was always like you'd go into a shrine and do like a little small physicsy puzzle.
Yes.
And he called them like doing a Wordle. I likened it to doing a little Wordle puzzle where you get in and get out and test your brain and then bugger off again. And I thought that was a very quaint way of describing it. But I mean, we're not going to say anything about Breath of the Wild on here that hasn't already been said. It's magnificent. It's just, it's not quite my favorite, which is why it's not number 1 on this list.
My third favorite Zelda game.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. I don't really have much to add. I think the reason it's sort of slightly lower on my list is that, I mean, like, I don't know, the two things that sort of were jumping to mind when you were chatting there, perhaps the reason it's slightly lower on the list, I think because of the hardware it's on and what it was shooting for.
Yeah.
It does feel quite empty in some ways. It's both packed with content and like also sparse at the same time. There's a lot of sort of running through open fields.
This there is.
The other thing
there are people who like that part, especially when the music is very sort of quietly will sort of usher itself in out of almost nowhere while you're just having a little brisk walk through a big field. But I think I'm like you in that I just want shit to happen.
The other thing that sort of jumped to mind is because I just finished up Atomfall today. at the time of recording.
I can't believe that. You're so far behind me, and then you just like blitzed past me this weekend because I had to be a dad.
The thing that is sort of taken away from that game is also in a way what Breath of the Wild did, in that it sort of brings back the sense of wonder, and it reintroduces the sort of concept of exploration being a feature in itself, and sort of trying to uncover the mysteries around the map. Yeah, that sort of just jumped to my mind when I was playing Titanfall today. I was like, oh, this is there's a element of Breath of the Wild in this.
I agree. I agree.
Which I absolutely very much enjoyed sort of digging around. But yeah, I have nothing really more to add to you than what you do. Like I say, it's great when you walk into an area, like sort of like stumble across things and you're like, what the hell is that? And then you spend like 4 hours going off and chasing something that isn't a quest. It's just something that sort of caught your interest. And you just have to go off and figure out what it is. And yeah, that is lost in a lot of games today. And it was just one of these things that sort of, like you say, made the game into adventure.
I think it lacks something of a personality to it because I didn't like the supporting cast very much. No. It certainly doesn't have the personality of a Twilight Princess, which had its like dark and moody vibes, emo version of the game going on, or like Majora's Mask, sort of same sort of a line. So it kind of loses something from that, but it also set a new benchmark in Zelda games that I don't think Tears of the Kingdom managed to hit, which is why it's not in my list at all.
It's not. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So that was my 2. So have you done your 3? Your 3 was
Super Mario.
I'm so lost.
So my number 3 is Super Mario Odyssey.
Oh yeah, okay. So your number 2 is
Balatro.
Right, which was my number 3. Excellent.
Are we on Balatro? Have we spoken about Super Mario Odyssey?
That's not your number 1.
No.
We haven't spoken about Mario Odyssey because it's higher on my list. Guess where it is?
Right, okay, yeah. So we're on to Balatro. Yeah, Balatro is a game that just took me by the balls, and I have put close to 100 hours into this game. I think the way that it sort of manipulates deck building, and you sort of you can get a joker, and just like manipulate it into this set of jokers. Like, for example, like I've spoken endlessly about the banana one, which is a favorite of mine, but then there's another thing like the egg that gains value at the end of every round, and then you can find a joker that will augment that by multiplying your mult by the value of your jokers. And it's just like you can sort of make these sort of cascading things bounce off each other in a way that it just blows my mind continually.
Genius.
And you're just constantly finding different ways to manipulate decks and things like that. And even after the 100 odd hours I've put into this game, I feel like I've still only scratched the surface. I've never really got into the vampire stuff. I haven't really even dug at the different, like, so I know you have, trying to aim for different card types and things like that. So like I usually go for 2-pair over and over and over again. Whereas
that's typically what I do try and go for.
You have sort of dabbled in the others, like flushes and stuff like that, because there's like a lot of joker cards that are dedicated to certain hand types. And if you can sort of nail that, I imagine there's other things you can do that I just haven't even poked at. And what a wonderful game. Wonderful.
What did you play it on?
Primarily Steam Deck, but I have started playing it again on Xbox. Now it's on Games Pass. But yeah, I
thoroughly recommend you get it on your phone.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is that
or maybe I don't. It depends how productive you want to be for the rest of your life. But I certainly will tell you that every time I've become disillusioned with Marvel Snap, Balatro has been there for me on my phone instead.
So good.
I've been playing it on my phone all day today. Every time I've needed to slink away from a playground. We've been to so many playgrounds this weekend because it's been nice weather. Just go for a big half-hour shit and just do a run of Balatro on my phone. But I did initially play this on Switch. That's where I first played it, and I can't add to what David said there. It's one of my favorite games ever. I think it may be. I don't know why I put Breath of the Wild above it, to be honest. Probably just because it felt like I should put proper Nintendo first-party stuff at the top. Which is So what's your you said we're on your number 1 now, aren't we?
Number 1 now, yeah. Super Mario Wonder is my favorite game on Switch.
Oh shit! Fucking hell! Right, okay, that was back down at my number 6.
Absolutely obsessed.
Well, my number 1 is Mario Odyssey, so we'll just chat about those two.
Yeah, Super Mario Wonder is everything that the new Super Mario Brothers series isn't, but in modern.
Yes.
And it took so I think like the thing that was great about Odyssey, and I think also the thing that's great about Wonder, is that the way that they'll sort of chuck an idea at you, you'll engage with it, and then they'll chuck it away in lieu of other ideas. It is just endless. Both of them are endlessly creative in a way that like just few games aren't. Like I've seen, like it's so common these days for video games to like find a gameplay loop and then they'll just drill into that for the entirety of the game, maybe sort of add on belts and I don't know, bells and whistles to it to make it a little bit more complicated and interesting. But this game is genuinely feels like they chuck ideas at you that people would base an entire game around, and it's just something that comes and goes in the space of a level.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful. Doesn't matter that it's on a sort of smaller console, that it's less powerful. It still looks fantastic.
That might be my favorite 2D Mario sprite ever, I think.
I don't think I've ever been both simultaneously relieved and proud of myself for finishing that final level in that game. That's why it's
number 6 on mine.
harrowing experience that almost broke me. But I don't think I'll ever do anything more difficult. I genuinely don't think I'll do anything more difficult.
So draining.
It's brutal.
Yeah, but it is just an incredible game. We've got a podcast already out there for this game where we go into it with far more detail for anyone who wanting any more detail than that who hasn't already played the game. It is it's just
Nintendo,
the way that they
very Nintendo-y best.
Well, exactly. They brought in some of the 3D Mario team to spruce up this really kind of flagging 2D side to the Mario coin, I guess, where the new Super Mario Bros. Games had just become so vanilla and dull and uninspired with each iteration getting worse, effectively. This one just gave it a massive shot in the arm and just, I mean, it literally had a game jam feel, style of development to it, where they got people to just write shit on post-its and put them in a suggestions box and just went out and made loads of it. They could make so many of these because I think they had thousands that they didn't even use. So long way they go back to that well again, because this game is just absolute magic. And so is my number 1, Mario Odyssey, which again,
it probably should have been higher on my list, to be honest. I think it's recency bias, or what's the opposite of recency bias? I've just sort of forgotten how good that game is. Yeah, I think I'm due for another playthrough. I probably, if it's a free upgrade on Switch 2, I'll probably use that. Got to.
It's this one like epitomizes Nintendo magic, as does Wonder. To be fair, that both of those two, like Mario's eaten well on this console.
Yes.
Better than he has in a long time. And I think there are elements of Mario Odyssey where you'll just walk over and there'll be a moon and it'll be like, you got the moon from walking around that corner. Yeah. but at the same time, some of the powers that it gives you and just this, they had that problem again where it was like, where do you take Mario after Galaxy, where you're literally in space going upside down while you play? They went then back, they sort of scaled back with 3D World to this more traditional idea of get to the end of a short level and go up the goalpost kind of thing. And then with this one, someone had the idea of, let's just let Mario be anything that he just lobs his hat on. He can be a dead and possessed by a hat and just chuck it on a dinosaur or a fucking, a lollipop or whatever. I can't remember what else you could be in this game. It's so long since I played it. You could be a Goomba, a stack of Goombas, or a Cheep under the water to swim better.
I'm telling you, I think
so creative.
I think I said this at the time, sort of jokingly, and it is jokingly, but this is in my mind the first mainline Mario game that you don't play as Mario. I'm pretty sure Mario dies at the start of this game, and his reanimated corpse is just
being dragged along by possessed hat. Yeah, it was just, I mean, they obviously put a lot of stuff to give it more of a life afterwards with the DLC of that balloon shit that Donkey kept playing in incredibly well, by the way. He's an unbelievable Mario player. But just the core concept of this so early. I remember, grown ass man, when this was being delivered, like sitting at the window waiting, like looking for the postman, seeing the postman like up the street and just staring at, like willing him to hurry the fuck up, so I could play the game faster, and it did not let me down. Like I said, where did we take Mario from space? I don't know. Let's let him beat anything, and they fucking nailed it. Like, they did. That whole Cappy mechanic is just magic. That first level where you're taking over a T-Rex, or there's beautiful orchestral scores playing, you've got these cascading waterfalls, and then you're jumping into the wall, and it's like 2D Mario, and you do that whole Donkey Kong bit with the song. Oh, it's just got so many sprinkles of Nintendo magic in there, which is such a well-used phrase at this point.
This is the one that's got New Donk City.
Really
in it, right?
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love all of that.
Great music at the end, and that whole sequence going through the pipe at the end of that world.
Yeah.
It's an absolute visual spectacle of the highest order.
Yeah, a real celebration of Mario that was. Do you have any honourable mentions?
Yeah, one or two. I will be quick.
Do we both have Tropical Freeze because we didn't play it on the Switch, but it's on the Switch and it's amazing.
I feel like a good platform for this game, Vampire Survivors, is another one that probably.
Yeah, I love Vampire Survivors.
I got
obsessed with that for a while.
Tetris 99 is another one for me that I thought I had a great time with.
I wish I was better at that. That was a real eye opener.
Celeste is another great game for this.
That's one of my honourable mentions. Yeah, love Celeste.
And the other one it's a game that I keep trying. I've got such a fondness for it, and until I got my Steam Deck, it used to be my go-to going away on holiday game that I would always take with me and try and get into. But it would intimidate and beat me up so much. The Darkest Dungeon. I'm convinced that's a great game. I just cannot get my head around.
Yep, you got me into that game. I think because you were at my house playing it on your Switch when you came to visit one time when I came in the morning to say hello to you.
And everyone keeps going mad in my game, and then they all die eventually or start killing each other.
They proper dropped the ball with the sequel of that. They changed the art style to something that's just not appealing anymore.
Bummer.
But I love Darkest Dungeon. Some more. I've got Smash Bros.
Didn't really play much of it.
Yeah, it's the best Smash Bros. Game there's ever been. I don't think that's in question anymore. The roster of that game is fucking ludicrous. They kept just bringing more and more characters in. It feels the best to play. I just don't have any mates to come and visit and play it. And the online code was
have it. Yeah.
I wish I had more time or more people to play that with. I just don't. We said Tropical Freeze. Sonic Mania, I think it's a fair one to say lives on the Switch quite nicely because it's it's going back to the 2D sprite based roots. It's one of the best Sonic games made in the last 15 years or so. Just an incredible 2D game that showed that basically people who aren't at Sega are better than Sega are at making Sonic games these days. Have you another one of mine is Into the Breach. You've not played that, right?
Yeah, I've played Into the Breach. Great game. Yep. Real good. It's
it's one I suck at, but it's unbelievable. I thought that's such a David game. I can't believe he's not brought it up, but he must have played it somewhere else.
I think you get it for free on Netflix if you've got a Netflix account.
You do, yes.
And I've got it on Steam, so I played it fairly recently on my Steam Deck, which is a good place for it. As a Switch.
Yeah, amazing.
But yeah, I'm like you. I'm not very good at it. I need to bash my head against it.
Very difficult.
I need to bash my head against it for a while. But yeah, I found it real hard.
There's so many good indie games we could be here all night. Katana Zero is a really good side-scrolling kind of adventure platformer. Really dark story. Great combat in that as well.
Oh, I love the art style.
Yeah, it's really awesome, that game. And the last one I had is one of the only JRPGs I think we've mentioned in this is Octopath Traveler. Not the best JRPG I've played. It was probably one of the first ones. I think it was the first one to do this whole Square Enix. I don't even know what they call it now, like HD pixel art or whatever it is.
Looks lovely. This is a series that I really, really want to get to. I think I tried to play it. It's either on Games Pass or was on Game Pass at one point.
It was on Game Pass, yes.
And I tried to play it then and I sort of bounced off it, but I just love the way it looks. And I feel like if I'm, as someone who is interested in JRPGs, this seems like a good one to get into. Could I go straight to the second one?
Probably. I think I've got the second one. Yeah, because the big problem with Octopath Traveler is that they had 8 characters, obviously 8 travelers, and they all had individual stories, and you would join them in their parties, but they would have no interaction with any of the other members of the crew. So you have a party of all these characters, but whoever's story you're currently playing, they're the only one that's involved in any of it. Like there's none of the rest of talk to them. They don't. It's like they're not really there. It's like they're just mannequins with magic powers being dragged behind you. But if you want just sort of like a beautiful looking, straightforward JRPG that has very simple combat mechanics to get your head around, and the story, although split across 8 different ones, it doesn't have crazy shit to try and follow. It's not that out there. Just a really good JRPG to kind of grab hold of in handheld. Like I would not play this on a full console on a TV. It would look nice there, but this is such a handheld style of RPG that it lives on the Switch for me.
I was just looking there as you were chatting about it to see if it's playable on Steam Deck, and it's yellow playable, so I need to do some Google and see how well it works on Steam Deck and maybe try and pick that up. Although it's 50 quid, surely CD keys will have it cheaper.
Yeah, you'd think so, but yeah, don't. Try and find out like the best thought of one of all of those, because there's quite a few of them at this point.
What, Octopath I know they did like Travelers, like style games?
Yeah, there's like Octopath, there's Octopath 2, there's Triangle Strategy. They've just redone the first Dragon Quest. There's maybe one more, or at least there is one more that they've announced, if it's out or not yet, I think. So there's plenty of those things you can dive into these days.
They've just released the HD 2D remakes of Dragon Quest. Is that a similar idea? Is it that type of game? Because Dragon Quest Builders is a game I liked quite a lot, and that sort of has got me vaguely interested in the Dragon Quest series.
Yeah, I don't know which Dragon Quest. They are obviously the most traditional style of JRPG you could get.
I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of
they predate Final Fantasy by about a year. Octopath, I don't remember seeing a lot coming up against a lot of need to grind.
Yeah, I think that's the one I want to play.
And then the Triangle Strategy is like the turn-based strategy. It's like more like a Fire Emblem sort of thing, which would still be my thing. I would recommend you start with the most if you want to play anything.
Which one?
Switch.
Fire Emblem.
Yeah, Three Houses.
Yeah, that's the one I do periodically look at. It's holding its price well, even on resale sites. So,
before we end, I guess let's just revisit the top 10 in reverse order. So, my number 10 was Luigi's Mansion 3.
I've got Dave the Diver.
My number 9 is Pikmin 4.
I've got SteamWorld Heist.
Nice. My number 8, Fire Emblem, Three Houses.
Number 8 for me, Slay the Spire.
Yeah. Number 7, Metroid Dread.
Yes. Number 7, Super Mario 3D World.
Number 6, Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Number 6, Shovel Knight.
Oh, nice. Number 5, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah. Number 4, Hades.
Breath of the Wild.
Number 3, Balatro.
Super Mario Odyssey.
Number 2, Breath of the Wild.
Balatro.
And number 1, Super Mario Odyssey.
Super Mario Wonder. What a great list of 20 games there.
Yeah, really good. Not a lot of crossover, as you said. I think one. Well, no, not one. Sorry.
Cool console the Switch has turned out to be. And here's hoping that Nintendo continue to go from strength to strength, and the Switch 2 is every bit as fun as the fun I've had on my Switch.
Yeah, pull it together and sort the pricing out, and I think you've got another smash hit on your hands eventually.
Hell yeah. I guess next up, Alex, we've got our first-person genre wars. Do you want to give the old listeners a wee rundown of what that is, so they can sort of get excited? So this is a wacky idea that I came up with for our sort of new focus on more interesting, not more interesting, but sort of experimental podcast types rather than just talking about a game anymore. So this will be effectively David and I are going to pick what we would suggest, maybe not wholly objectively, but our sort of favorite or what we think are the most important 12 first-person shooters ever made. We're going to rank them individually like we just did our Switch games there, but there'll be a points value attributed to them based on how we rank them, and that actually follows the points scoring system from Mario Kart 8. I looked up how many points you get for first, second, third, blah, blah, blah. So it will follow that.
That will then put all the games into a league table, and the top 8 games from that league table of our combined scores will go into like a knockout round robin kind of thing. I don't know what round robin means. A knockout stage where we'll have quarterfinals, and then basically we will randomly draw those 8 games in a quarterfinal system to pair off against each other. So it could be Doom versus Halo, and David and I will decide between the two of us which of those 2 games wins and moves on to the next round till we get to a final, and we'll have 2 final games going up against each other, and we will decide the winner and greatest first-person shooter of all time. Doesn't necessarily mean that the 2 best ones are going to be there, because the way they get drawn might mean that it's Duke Nukem all the way to the final or something. You never know.
You might have a good run.
I think it's going to be a fun discussion to have, and we're going to hopefully, if we enjoy ourselves and it works well, we'll stick a load of different genres in there and just come back and do them again, because it's a good way to talk about a broad spectrum of stuff with a bit of spice to it.
Exactly. So please be excited for that.
David's going to put Atomfall in there.
Yeah, maybe. I suppose that brings us to the end of another episode of the Winners You podcast. If you liked what you heard, and even if you didn't, why not give our numbers a bump by subscribing to our podcast on your podcast feed of choice? Or if you prefer to consume your podcast in a visual format, you can head on over to YouTube and search for Winners You podcast, where you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. If the podcast isn't enough for you, the best place to get us these days is over on Blue Sky, at Super Thrillix just at Thrillix for Alex, at Super Smiley for me, and at Winner Is You Pod for us. If you're one of the youngins, we also have TikTok, so head on over there and search for Winner Is You Pod if you so wish. Alex, any housekeeping, or are we getting out of here?
We've got I think the Video Game Hall of Fame console launch games, when this comes out, you'll probably have a few hours left of the poll to go vote on. So just go to @VG_HOF on Twitter, or @VGHOF on Blue Sky if you want to vote on console launch titles, even if you've not heard the episode. But that's also out there as well. I picked Twilight Princess after Rob had done Breath of the Wild, and he fucked me.
Yeah, he did.
So
he's done. He has done you there, I'm afraid.
We already had Tetris in there. We already had some other ones. So it's a good one though. It's a good fun episode, especially because topical for this current period of time.
Excellent. Well, on that bombshell, I've been David, he has been Alex, and we have been A Winner Is You, and I'm out.
Keep gaming.